All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's a beautiful, beautiful Monday evening. Um, Normally we'll be on camera, but um, like I said last week, um, I have cannot think things. Engagement later today, so I'm just gonna do. Just gonna listen to the recordings. Bumblebee says you have a very good taste in something. Thank you. Thank you. We did try. We did try. We did try. Try. We did try small, small. Bumblebee and Ibojinodu, thank you very much for the likes on TikTok. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for liking the live and for getting us, to 10.4k likes, and others who liked as well. Thank you very much. Just that I keep saying Bumblebee and Ibojinodu, and I want to especially acknowledge that. So thanks everyone for helping us with the live. Please keep our tapping. Like I said earlier, it's Monday. Normally we'll come on camera, but today um, we will not be able to do so. We're just going to listen to something very cool, and then we'll have a little bit of conversation, and we'll call it today. Tomorrow as well, we're going to listen to another recording. Of course, normally Tuesday we listen to recordings. So we'll do that tomorrow. All right. Just want to be sure we're good on other platforms and then we can get started. Okay. So YouTube is live, I think. We're streaming on YouTube, on Facebook as well. We're trying to sort out Twitter. It should be live in a bit. We'll see how that goes. All right. So thanks everyone for being here. Lovely to have everybody join us again today. Just going to check to be sure we're good on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, we can get started. If you're on YouTube, please like the live and kindly share as well. These things help the algorithm to recommend the live stream to other users. So please like and share. And please subscribe as well, especially if you're on YouTube. By the way, on TikTok, we now subscribe. So if you would like to subscribe on TikTok or be a super fan, kindly click on the button on the screen and become a subscriber. Okay. So today we're going to listen to a recording we did a while back, and it's about the coup. We've been doing a lot of stuff about the coup and Aburi. I'm just going to spend a number of days this week on that, and then we'll move to a topic that somebody suggested. Well, it was a question that was asked on Friday, and I intend to have a full session, if not series, on that particular question in order to answer the person. And the question essentially was about Awo in prison, why was Papa imprisoned, and what were the circumstances surrounding his imprisonment. Is it true, the things he said about him? So that's what we're going to get into as soon as we're done with the coup and Aburi. So we're going to listen to something about the coup today, and then tomorrow we'll listen to something about Aburi, and one other day of this week we'll do that as well, and then we'll get into Papa's incarceration, the things that happened before that incarceration started, and how he got out of it. We're going to be reading a number of books, so we're going to have a great time together. Ibojinodu says, Prof, we have to pay for class 1. Okay, we have to pay for class one way or the other. So you're liking the live is one of the ways to pay for the class. Thank you very much for your support. All right. So I was today we're going to listen to something about the coup. Former President Shagari and the former Minister of Justice, or is that Attorney General? That was Richard Akinjide, and also Brigadier Babafemi Ogundipe, who these three had very interesting perspectives about what happened on the 15th of January 1966. We're going to listen to that today. Tomorrow we'll revisit Aburi. We did it last week, but I want us to listen to the recording. And then maybe Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to listen to the other part because it's very long. The series on Aburi is quite long. It's going to take us at least 2 days. And then we'll get to the treasonable felony charge and the imprisonment of Papa Bafemi, but that'll be later, okay? By the way, I saw some interesting things in the comment section while people were coming in. Somebody said that they're looking for Igbo history. I'll talk about that maybe on Wednesday. It's just funny. I think people should be happy that there's certain parts of the history that isn't being, what's the word now? That isn't being talked about. Like, they're not talking about certain things that happened, but if they insist, I mean, I think those things should be, because I mean, what were they fighting for? It's actually quite unnecessary, to be honest. But we'll talk about that, some other times. I can stick to today's topic. Okay, so Shagari, Akinjide, and Ogundipe on the January 1966 coup. Let me say something before we get into this. There are different perspectives as far as the coup is concerned. A lot of people would say, different things. For most of us, we are talking based on what we've been exposed to. Okay, and I want to try and use a different method going forward, because I think I'm noticing that a number of people are reaching out from the Southeast, and it looks like people are seeing things from a different perspective. But let me just say that a lot of us think based on what we've been exposed to or what we've been told, right? And for the most part, it's something that is skewed or biased, right? Skewed to favor our own, maybe ethnicity or whatever. And I think that's where the real issue is. So people are trying to stay true to their ethnicity, not necessarily to the truth or to the facts of history. So let me just say that regardless of what you've been told, one of the ways that you show that you are educated is your ability to actually look at different perspectives, and you can make up your own mind. You don't have to believe anything you hear today. You don't have to. But what you should do is open up your heart, listen to what they're saying, and then decide to research. At the end of the day, what you're going to get out of this, right, if you're Yoruba or any other ethnicity apart from Igbo, is that you're going to understand what really happened. If you're Igbo, it should probably lead you to a place of healing where you get to participate in national discourse as a Nigerian rather than as a victim of Nigeria. Okay? So I hope this works, and I hope it helps everybody. Okay? Thank you very much. So I'm going to read the description, and then we'll get on with today's session. Please don't stop our tapping on TikTok. Also click on the heart icon above my picture there and join the team. If you're already a member, please drop a heart to me and drop a gift. These things help push the live to the FYP. And also, we're not coming on camera, so tapping is consent. So please, if you're on TikTok, tap. Thank you. All right, let's have the description, then we'll get into the video. This unfolded on January 15 and 16. How Ironsi moved, what decisions were taken, and why they concluded that the coup was effectively led by Ironsi himself. Then there is Ogundipe. His statement of January 16, later published by the Commonwealth Office, openly acknowledged ethnic undertones and the ambition of young Igbo officers to clear out senior officers and northern leaders. When these pieces are placed side by side, the story of January 15 and 16, 1966 becomes harder to ignore and impossible to oversimplify. The coup stops looking like a mystery and starts looking like a sequence of actions, motives, and choices that were observed by those inside government. This is history told by people who were there, not interpretations added decades later. This is not about simplification, it's about paying attention to what was said, when it was said, and why it mattered. This is Shagari, Akinjide, and Ogundipe on the 1966 coup. Enjoy. Before I want to talk morning, and in presence of Acting High Commissioner for Nigeria and Brigadier Ogundipe. There's a lady that we mentioned earlier, Miss Emery, that was Zeke's personal secretary. So we're going to hear her name now. Now, again, the coup happened, the coup was executed on 15th January. So this is 16th. I've not said anything from everything I've read so far. I hope you got what I was trying to pass across. If you didn't get it, forget about it. But let's just continue. 16th January 1966. So this is the day after the coup. And this is from Commonwealth Relations Office in Lagos. President Secretary, Ms. Emery, called this morning in presence of Acting High Commissioner for Nigeria and Brigadier Ogundipe, handed over message in immediately following telegram from Azikiwe to Diso. Nigerians agreed to our transmitting it on their behalf. I told Ms. Emery that Diso would no doubt be advised locally to forward message to Dipcharima rather than to Ironsi. To her that as seen here, and Nigerians subsequently confirmed this, Zeke would be well advised not to add fresh dissension to crisis by returning at this point whatever his constitutional conscience might dictate. Nigeria House will handle any reply from Lagos. You will doubtless do what you can feed in advice about Zeke staying put. Now I want to talk. Not talk, but read clearly. I know I was not clear all the while. I know I wasn't specific about anything. It was intentional. But let's get into serious killing now. This was 16th January 1966. The coup had happened the previous day, and they're saying here that they are going to be forwarding every message. Sorry, that the message they'll be sending to this will be forwarded to Dipcharima rather than Ironsi. This was on the 16th. The question you should ask is, why Dipcharima? Why not Ironsi? Why did the British say send the message to Dipcharima and not Ironsi? Let's start with this one. I have two people I want to talk to you. I have Shagari and I have Richard Akinjide. So we know what happened on the 15th. People were killed. The Prime Minister was unalived. The Minister of Finance, Premier Western Region, Premier of Northern Region, Army officers. What I really want to talk today is why they killed Ademulegun. I'll talk about it today before we go, if we have time. So all those people had been killed, right? And then on the 16th, something happened. So before we go to 16th, let's first read what happened on the 15th. Alhaji Kafi informed me, I'm reading Shagari's book, Back to Serve. Alhaji Kafi informed me that there had been a mutiny in the army and some rebels had abducted the PM and Chief First Osam Okotiebo, the Minister of Finance. Okotiebo was also the NCNC Federal Parliamentary Party leader and a key link in the NPC-NCNC alliance. Kafi said he understood Major General J.T. Aguiyi-Ironsi, Webi Everett's Nigerian successor as GOC, and Brigadier Mimalari were trying hard to organize a counter-action. Mimalari later emerged had been alerted before the rebels reached his home. While walking to nearby Dodan Barracks, he spotted the car of Major Emmanuel Ifajina, whom he beckoned to stop. Ifajina came out and calmly shot him dead. Kafi then advised me to take care and left. I tried using the telephone, but found it had been cut off. Then another visitor came. It was Mr. T.A. Fagbola, the Commissioner of Police Special Duties, who briefed me on the rebellion and also advised me to take care. I walked to the residence of my neighbor, Chief Adeniro Ogunsoya, the NCNC Minister of Housing, woke him up and informed him of the revolt. Then I drove my small Datsun car to the home of Transport Minister Dipcharima. That's the same person that we heard in that letter. So you'll find the link very soon. At number 1B, Bodleian Road, where I also woke him up and broke the news. Returning home at about 5 a.m., I notified my family and then that of my neighbor, Alhaji Inuawada, who was overseas of the mutiny. At about 7 a.m., I returned to Dipcharima's residence to meet with some NPC ministers who had gathered there. Dipcharima was then the most senior NPC minister available. Minister of Mines and Power, who had visited the PM's residence by bicycle. We then heard from Alhaji Ibrahim Chief Anikaude. Chief Anikaude said he had been fetched from Ibadan early that morning by rebels and looked up at the Federal Guard officers' mess in Dodam Barracks, where the mutineers initially made their headquarters. Disguised in army uniform, loyal troops handed him over to Alhaji Galadima, who had called in at the barracks, which was within a stone's throw of his residence. Visibly shaken, Chief Anikaude requested to be taken to a hideout somewhere in Ikoyi to await further development, and was duly escorted. The acting Minister of Defense assured us that Major General Ironsi was doing his best to arrest the situation. Maitama Sule and I were separately detailed to explore with our absent NPC and NCNC colleagues the possibility of naming someone to stand in for the PM. I was consulting with the NCNC ministers at Dr. Mbadiwe's residence when we heard that the northern and western premiers, Sir Ahmadu Bello and Chief Akintola respectively, had been assassinated. Hence, I rushed back to the Chariman's residence, where I found my colleagues in a state of shock and desperation. However, we decided to recognize the Charima, a Kanuri from Borno, as our interim leader, and to ask the acting president, Dr. Orizu. President Azikiwe was away on leave. So we went to ask the acting president, Dr. Orizu, to appoint the Charima acting prime minister. We also summoned Major General Ironsi and gave him full authority to use every force at his disposal to suppress the rebellion. He moved his headquarters temporarily to the police headquarters at Moloni Street to facilitate easy communication with army units in the regions. While at the Chariman's residence, we contacted the British High Commission and requested for military assistance in the event that our loyal troops should require any. The response was positive, but the British insisted that the request must be written by the PM, or in his absence by a properly appointed deputy. We therefore drove to the residence of Dr. Orizu and requested him to appoint the Charima acting prime minister. Dr. Orizu requested to see our NCNC colleagues to confirm whether they supported our proposition, and they joined us soon afterwards. They had apparently been caucusing at Dr. Badiwe's residence. He was their choice of acting prime minister. This was naturally unacceptable to us, since the NPC was the major governing party. While we were at Orizu's residence, Major General Ironsi, who had seemingly secured Lagos, came in with some armed escorts. He requested for a tete-a-tete with Orizu. The two had about 40 minutes discussion in another room, while we waited anxiously in the sitting room with the armed soldiers standing and staring at us. When Major General Ironsi finally emerged, he talked to the Charima Sotovosi and then drove off with his troops. Dr. Orizu then joined us, regretted his inability in the circumstances to oblige our request. He suggested we all return to our homes and wait until we were required. All efforts to get any clarification failed, and we left in utter desperation. What do you see here? They wanted the Charima to be acting prime minister because he was the most senior of the cabinet members. The NCNC, Reed Ibo, wanted Kingsley Badiwe to be prime minister. And then Ironsi came in and he stood in and saved the day, so to speak. And they had a meeting. Why am I saying this? I'm trying to explain to you why this letter from the British was mentioning, why they said that they're going to be sending the message to the Charima, because they recognized that the Charima was the most senior cabinet member. So naturally, he will be the acting prime minister. But like I said from the word go, this whole thing is Igbo, right? So the idea was to actually make him Badiwe prime minister. And when that did not work, or Ironsi came in, but that's not even why we're here today. I've talked about this before anyway. Why we're here, let's go back to this book. Why we're here is something that Zik sent to Ironsi on that day, 16th of January, before Ironsi became head of state. And if you've been here before, we talked about it. After this meeting, on Sunday, so that was 15th, on Sunday, the 16th of January, they called all the cabinet members. Maybe I should read this so that it doesn't look like making things. I was about to break the Ramadan fast on Sunday, 16th January, when all ministers were asked to report to the cabinet office at 6:30 p.m. The whole premises was surrounded by soldiers in battle order. Excuse me. The whole premises was surrounded by soldiers in battle order that some of us initially hesitated to enter. In the cabinet chamber were Major General Ironsi Bukar Tipcharima and Ibrahim Tako Galadima. There were no officials present. Major Ironsi admitted to us that he had been unable to suppress the rebellion, which he said was getting out of hand. He stated that the mutineers were in control of Kaduna, Kano, and Ibadan, which is not true, and had killed 2 regional premiers, Sir Ahmadu Bello and Chief Akintola. They had also murdered a number of his best officers, including Brigadiers Memalari and Samuel Adesujo Ademulegun, the commander of 1st Brigade Headquarters in Kaduna. Ironsi was full of emotion and even shed some tears. When we asked him about the whereabouts of Sir Abubakar and Chief Okotiebo, he said he still did not know, but I've heard that efforts were being made to locate them. At this stage, Mbadiwe broke down and kept crying, "Please, where is the Prime Minister?" When we reminded Major General Ironsi if he needed to avail himself of the British pledge of military assistance, he replied it was too late as the army was pressing him to assume power. It was the army, wasn't him. Aburusol. Indeed, he confessed his personal reluctance to take over because of his ignorance of government, but insisted the boys were adamant and anxiously waiting outside. He advised it will be in our own interest and that of the country to temporarily cede power to him to avert disaster. Accordingly, we acceded to his request since we had no better alternative. Ironsi then insisted that the understanding be written, so to write the agreement. After it was a Sunday, and all the offices were locked while no official was around. Alhaji AGF Abdulrazak, the Minister of State for the Railways, former NPC legal advisor, managed to secure a scrap paper on which he drafted a statement, which we endorsed. That was a so-called voluntary formal handover of power by the Balewa government to Major General Ironsi. It was agreed that the statement would be typed and Dipcharima would sign it on our behalf. We were then advised to return home and await further instructions. I only got to break my Ramadan fast around 9:30 p.m. Later, at 11:50 p.m., Dr. Orizu made a terse nationwide broadcast announcing the cabinet's voluntary decision to transfer power to the armed forces. Remember the word voluntary, which is a lie. Major General Ironsi then made his own broadcast accepting the invitation. He suspended certain parts of the constitution, set up a national military government with office of military governors in each region, and briefly outlined the policy intentions of his regime. Nigeria's first democratic experiment was effectively over, and although the mutiny had by then practically collapsed, military rule had arrived. It was a fact. I'm going to read something from Akinjide, then we're going to go back to Commonwealth. This was an interview that was conducted in 2018. Chief Richard Akinjide, who was a First Republic parliamentarian and Minister of Education, and Second Republic Attorney General of the Federation. And I'm just going to go. One second. We've not really gotten to what Zik said to Ironsi. We'll get there. But remember the dates, right? The coup was 15th, 16th. Nothing happened from morning till evening. It was only 6:30 p.m. that they called the cabinet members and told them that they had to hand over power to Ironsi. Let me read from Akinjide's perspective very quickly. No, I think I might have to use another device. This one is wasting my time. Okay, I think it's good now. I want to see if there's congruence, like if there's alignment between what he said and what Shagari said. So let's read here. So this day, by the way, was a newspaper article where the former Attorney General of the Federation was interviewed. So they asked the question, who destroyed Nigeria? He said Nigeria's destruction started the first day we had the first military coup. And if things are right since then, I would like you to give me the details. I think this is Richard Akinjide. I think politicians of the First Republic share in the blame of the destruction of Nigeria by allowing the military coup, because military intervention in politics is an abnormal thing. but it happened at a time when Nigeria just started as an independent nation. At that critical time, the leader of the opposition was in prison for treason. The Southwest was in crisis. That was the period of Operation Wetia. Would you agree that politicians of the First Republic didn't manage the situation well and allowed the military to intervene in politics? Secondly, when the Prime Minister was missing for a couple of days, the politicians at that time, or those who were in charge, couldn't seize the opportunity and present leadership because the nation was in a state of anarchy for 2 days. We didn't have a head of government and eventually allowed the military to seize power. By then, Dr. Azikiwe, the president, was outside the country, and the acting president, Nwankwo Rizu, announced that the politicians had handed over power to the military. Don't you think politicians of the First Republic, which you were part of, have a share of the blame? That was all this Surinchi is question. So this is the answer. That information is not true. This thing happened about 50 years ago. I was in that cabinet as Federal Minister of Education. When the head of army of the British was to go, that was Welby Everett. There was disagreement between Balewa and Sardauna, Samadu Bello, the leader in Kaduna. The leader in Kaduna said Aguiyi Ironsi should not be made the Nigerian army chief for reasons which he gave. He said he was preparing a coup. Balewa insisted that he wanted to put Ironsi there. That dichotomy between the Prime Minister in Lagos and the leader in Kaduna was very critical. And Akintola was the premier in the West, and he decided to go to Kaduna to explain his own views to the leader in Kaduna because they were of the same view. These are the internal dichotomies that some of you didn't know. Wait. So he said something here that the Sardauna, that's Samadu Bello, did not want Ironsi to be GOC. Why? So in my little research, I found a document. From the British High Commission, 18th February 1965. And I think if we look at it together, we'll understand why the Sardauna didn't want him to be GOC. And then why eventually they allowed him to be GOC, and the plan they actually had for Ironsi, how long they thought Ironsi was going to be GOC for. Guys, I'm trying to contain myself. If I don't go straight, you know why. But let's just go into this. So this is from British High Commission, Lagos, 18 February 1965. Of course, it goes without saying it's confidential. This is from the Commonwealth Relations Office, St. John Chadwick, Esquire. I won't tell you who they wrote it to. Malam Sule Kolo, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Defense, here asked me to come to see him with the retiring GOC Welby Everett on 16th February. He told me that ministers had decided that he should go to London to study the defense organization in the United Kingdom and later to Karachi to examine the Pakistan setup so that they can advise ministers on the kind of service organization most likely to suit Nigerian conditions. They have in mind a committee of the service commanders with the Chief of Defense Staff superimposed. Around to this, Francis, of course, is the British High Commissioner, that there has been a lot of jockeying for position over the succession to Welby Everett, and that the lot has finally fallen on the brigadier commanding in the south, Ironsi. We are reporting on that separately. We do not know all the moves behind the scenes, but the choice for some time has lain between Ironsi and Ademulegun, now commanding the brigade in the north. The best candidate on purely military grounds, Ogundipe, is at present at the IDC. Most military opinion here would probably concede that Ademulegun is a better professional soldier than Ironsi and would make a better GOC. But Ironsi may be considered the senior of the two, having held the rank of Major General when for a brief time he commanded the UN military forces in the Congo. Moreover, he is an Igbo, and that may be an important element in the decision, i.e., that is, the need to reassure the many Igbo officers and key Igbo personnel in the ranks that the East is not being neglected. Be that as it may, Webi Everett believes that Ironsi will probably hold the appointment of GOC for a year only, and that thereafter it will be relieved by Ademulegun. The present idea seems to be that at that stage, Ironsi will be kicked upstairs as chief of a new defense staff. That was the plan they had. Originally, Sarana did not want him. That's why when you hear things like was British, it was not just the British. According to Chief Richard Akinjide, Tafawa Balewa was also okay with Ironsi. But they said here that the best person for that role was Ogundipe. But when it came to military acumen, said purely on military grounds, the best was Ademulegun. Do you know where Ademulegun was killed during the coup? Do you know where Ademulegun? You know where Ademulegun was killed in that coup? And I've said it here before in passing. Anybody that was a threat to Ironsi was removed. Ironsi was supposed to be there from 65 to 66. He will be removed and Ademulegun will become the GOC. Ademulegun was a threat. Dr. Badru, I don't even want to talk about the person you just wrote right now. I don't want. I've read his own account and he skimmed over this. No, let me not talk about it because there's. Let me just advise: if you're reading any book on this issue, right, just read from different perspectives. It will be better. I don't want to criticize any writer, but just read from different perspectives. He's from the East, by the way, and he favors the Igbo for the most part. The person you are mentioning in the comment section. But let's go on. The point they had at the time was that Ironsi would be GOC for a year, max. That 1 year was not complete by the time they killed Ademulegun. This conversation was had in February 1965. At this time, Ironsi was not yet GOC. So when they made him GOC, it would have been a couple of months afterwards, he was going to be there for a year, and then they'll push him up to, according to them, what they said, they'll make him chief of new defense staff. But Ademulegun was going to be the GOC. By January, they killed the guy. So, when you hear, in fact, let me tell you something else they wrote about Ironsi. I'm not the one saying this, or it's the British, so if you have any problem, go and meet them. I'm only just trying to help us put things together. I'm going to read what they said about the coup itself later, Sha. Let me read something for you from here. This is from 28th February 1965. The meeting was held, this is an extra from a meeting at the Commonwealth Office. Sir James deplored the appointment of Brigadier Ironsi as GOC. I'm sorry, guys. What I'm about to read may sound very scathing. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just reading. Someone said, I thought Ogundipe was senior of them. No, Ogundipe was not the seat. Ogundipe was... No, Ogundipe was... No. Ogundipe was not senior of Ogundipe. But he had a temperament. It was the first choice of Webi Everett. Ogundipe was the person they actually wanted. But I think it was off training at the time. So they were left with Ironsi and what's his name? Ademulegun. What I'm about to read now is going to sound very funny, but please, I'm not the one that wrote it. Sir James deplored the appointment of Brigadier Ironsi as GOC. He deplored it. He was not only unscrupulous, but lazy and inefficient to boot. The even greater danger in the longer term was that the Minister of Defense, Ribadu, who could, in the event of Abubakar's premature death, succeed him, much to the West's disadvantage. They thought he was lazy, unscrupulous, and what other word they use? Inefficient. Then it says here, another stuff they wrote amongst themselves. The GOC Ironsi is very offhand with me. Almost certainly due to the interview. Due to the interview which the CDS had with him in mid-May. it will be exceedingly difficult to repair this breach of confidence. In fact, may well be impossible. Ironsi is a fantastically conceited man, and I can now well understand why the two former British GOCs both worked hard to try and prevent Ironsi from being promoted to be the first Nigerian GOC. He is very ambitious and full of his own self-importance. He is cunning and strongly anti-British. He is age 42, and I suppose he will remain as GOC for years and years to come. My latest information is that the new Minister of Defense, Ino Awada, is strongly opposed to creating the post of Chief of Nigerian Defense Staff and putting Ironsi into his appointment. I have no doubt that the reason for this is that the government are afraid it will put Ironsi into a position of too much power. When was this? This was July of 65. And then, I'm about to read to you. If you're a family member here, I knew he was a good man. This is his report from the college he went to in 1957 course. Staff College, final report, Major J.T. Uaguin-Rossi, 31st December 1957. This is the person that politics is Yahweh. Politics is very crazy. Anybody can win. Grading D. That's his grade. Military and personal qualities. Again, I'm not reading this thing to demean anybody. It's just that it's crazy how we got to where we are. But let's just read to understand. So the grade he had was D. Military and personal qualities. A disappointing officer who is quite out of his depth at the Staff College. It is not practical to report on him as if he were a British student. He's enjoying himself and will undoubtedly have benefited from the course. He's cheerful, carefree, idle, careless. No, you know what? Let me not read it. It's too... No. Let's just leave it. As a matter, it's so bad that when the commandant, Major General Port, when he said, I agreed that this is a fair report. In fact, okay, you know, I won't read that one. Let me read what... Sometimes I should read it. You want to hear something. You want gist. I think it's a bit disparaging. That's why. It's disparaging. Okay, you know what? I'll read this. I'll find a voice to read it so that at least you know that we are just being objective. A disappointing officer who is college. It is not practical to report on him as if he were a British student. It is not written in order to be read though. Some things cannot be. No, I can't post some. No, I can't. I'm jumping things. I can't post. If you need it, sincerely, go to the Commonwealth Office. You can get it there. I'm not the one that will put. No. Believe it or not, the reason I was breaking was because I was jumping things. You can't just read everything. That have to do with what I read earlier. If you were, even me, I was a bit off as I was just going round and around. I was trying not to read some things. There's everything that one can read. So if you need it, I can assure you get it. This one, by the way, you get it in the, what's it called? This particular one is from the British Archives. Is in London, in England. Where were we? A disappointing officer who is quite out of his depth at the Staff College. It is not practical to report on him as if he were a British student. He's enjoying himself and will undoubtedly have benefited from the course. He's cheerful, carefree, idle, careless, quiet, and good-humored. Well, he has very little military experience on which to base his thinking. 6 months with a battalion in Bora would help him a lot. He is slow to learn, although his English is good. He is unwilling to acknowledge any lack of ability to understand. He resents criticism. Some of you are like that too. It should be made public. I'm not the one that will make it public now. I'm not the government. The one I can make public, I'm doing what I can do. I beg, Ejo. Most of it, your name is not there, your face is not there. I should just be taking everything. Okay. Thank you very much. let me just do the one I think God has sent me to do. I'm not supposed to take the government will tell you the one that government wants to say. Where was I? He is slow to learn, although his English is good. He is unwilling to acknowledge any lack of ability to understand. He resents criticism and treats it as racial discrimination. When he speaks, he is often irrelevant or seldom stupid. Jesus Christ. He has considerable self-confidence and pomposity. It is difficult to forecast his future or to assess his potential as either a staff officer or commander. The one thing which is clear is that unless he is made to accept and exercise responsibility, his future value will be limited. Especially unsuitable for any branch of the staff? No. Is he especially suitable for any branch of the staff? No. Is he suitable for employment within the division? Yes. Is he suitable for employment in higher HQ? Yes. Is he likely to be suitable for DS after further experience? No. Then the commandant says, I agree that this is a fair report. He has settled down a lot since he has been here. His rather self-satisfied manner has irritated the officers responsible for teaching him. There's a reason I brought my voice down. It's not something, I don't want you to look as if it's something to shout about. The point I'm trying to make essentially is that people that destroyed your country, that's where they come from. That's the kind of mental capacity. I know military brilliance is not just about the fact that you could carry gun. Even strategy, you could tell. So, why did we go into all of these things? Because of what Akinjide said earlier. Richard Akinjide said that Ahmadu Bello did not want to have Iransi as GOC, but Tafawa Balewa was like, it's okay, no big deal. Here is the crazy part. So I'm going to go back to what Akinjide said. He said, when the head of the army of the British was to go, there was disagreement between Balewa and Sardauna, Sir Ahmadu Bello. The leader in Kaduna said Aguiyi-Ironsi should not be made the Nigerian army chief for reasons which he gave. He said he was preparing a coup. That was in 65. That was in 1965. Balewa insisted that they wanted to put Ironsi there. That dichotomy between, as a matter of fact, one of the reasons they also wanted Ironsi was because it was Igbo. That's what the British themselves said. Let's continue. Balewa insisted that they wanted to put Ironsi there. That dichotomy between the Prime Minister in Lagos and the leader in Kaduna was very critical. And Akintola was the premier in the West, and he decided to go to Kaduna to explain his own views to the leader in Kaduna because they were of the same view. These are the internal dichotomies that some of you didn't know. Now, Akintola went to Kaduna with some leaders, including Lekan Salami. Unfortunately, some of the foreign ministers, such as Financial Times, started mentioning my name instead of Salami. It was not me. I didn't go to Kaduna with Akintola. When Akintola got to Kaduna, he explained that the situation at hand was dangerous. And when he came back, he gave me a telephone call because I was in Lagos. He said, as the secretary of the party, I should summon a very urgent meeting of the party so that he could give them the details of the Kaduna meetings. I agreed. That night was the last discussion I had with Akintola. By the following morning, he was dead. When I woke up the following morning as a federal minister, I didn't know there had been a military coup, but somebody came to me and was telling me that Akintola was dead. It was the first time I heard the news. The critical thing for me was to keep myself safe, and I did that. A lot of dichotomies and internal things that happened at that time, the history has not been written till today. And that is why many writers write half-truths and half-falsehoods. Again, there was no vacancy, as people assume, because one booker, Solomon Dipcharima from the Northeast, and Minister of Transport in the cabinet then, was chosen as our leader. And we didn't know where the Prime Minister was. Is this sounding like what Shagari said? It sounds like what Shagari said, right? Okay. No, not AGO. It was an NPC. But you see, at that time, there was a coalition between NPC and NNDP to form NNA with Akintola. So Akintola, the reason Akintola could call him was that Akintola was an ally. Akintola's NNDP was with NPC to form NNA, Nigerian National Alliance. So he says there was no vacancy as people assume because one booker, Zanadip Charima, from the Northeast and Minister of Transport in the cabinet then, was chosen as our leader when we did not know where the Prime Minister was. He was not dead then in our view. We heard Akintola had been killed, Sardauna had been killed, and commander of the army in Ibadan, who was in the hotel, was killed in the hotel. But we continued, how can you be asking this? I've answered that question already, please now, Ejo. But we continued holding cabinet meetings in Bukar's house. That gap was there, and because many of you didn't know about that gap and what happened at that time, you continue to write half-truths and half-falsehoods. What was critical at that time was that Iransi started coming to the cabinet meetings. Pay attention, please. What was critical at that time was that Iransi started coming to the cabinet meetings with soldiers, sitting outside the door where we were holding meeting. What was he doing there? I was there as a cabinet minister. Then they asked him, did anybody raise any objection? Of course, we asked him, and he said just to keep us safe. We didn't ask him to come. We didn't need your security, but he kept coming. Right then, we smelt a rat. Later on, I must tell you that I got a report, very big report from foreign intelligence, that in fact, Iransi was the leader of that coup. Guys, I've seen that report. That's why I said earlier that if people know what their parents did, they'll just be quiet like a mouse. But that's the crazy part. Now your region destroyed the place, now you they insult everybody pass. Reports about the fact that he knew what was going to happen, it was deeply embedded in the whole thing, right? But in some ways, certain things they did were not part of the things that you expected them to do, but it was part of the whole thing. The British knew. Say an Azikiwe, I'll tell you what Azikiwe did. That's the final thing I'm going to read before we go. How Azikiwe sent, the message Azikiwe sent to him is what we're going to end with. On 16th, remember that date, 16th, because on that day, 16th, nobody in Nigeria knew anything about who the head of state was. All the cabinet members did not know anything until they had that meeting at 6:30 p.m. The rest of the country did not know anything until 11:50 p.m. That's the ones who had the radio and TV. And how many people had TV in 66? So most of them would have known on the 17th. But Zik sent a curious message to Iransi using a particular phrase, just like he did in the interview that he granted in the UK. We're going to connect those things together. Guys, may God bless your region. May God bless this country. But it is well. They can't lie with the lie. There is no way. The people they killed, do you think those people's blood will just be there, be chilling? Ade said if Zik was not part of it, he should have condemned it publicly. Zik. Don't worry, we'll get there now. You hear? Where were we? So we're still with Akinjide. He said, we asked him, that's Iransi, and he said just to keep us safe. We didn't ask him to come. This was before the coup. We didn't ask him to come. We didn't need your security, but he kept coming. Right then, we smelt a rat. Later on, I must tell you that I got a report, a very big report from foreign intelligence, that in fact Iransi was the leader of that coup. But Nigerians believe it was Major Cardinal Zogo who was the leader of the coup. That was the interviewer. Then Richard Akinjide said, no. I was given a bulk report on Iransi's involvement in the coup. I said, we didn't know where the Prime Minister was, but Iransi was going left, right, and center. We discovered later that he was indeed the leader of the coup. He now asks us to hand over power to him for safety. Are you noticing that this thing is sounding exactly like what Shagari wrote in his own book in 1981? This man is speaking about 10 years ago, and there's correlation. They were both ministers, by the way, at the time. Where was I? He now asks us to hand over power to him for safety. Apparently, now biscuits. Just may I keep on for you. I said, why do we have to hand over power to you? You are the head of the army. Keep the country safe. But he insisted and forced us to hand over power to him at the cabinet meeting. Power was not handed over to him, but he took power from us by force. Then the person asked the question, but Orizu announced to the nation, that is not true. Don't forget that at that time, head of the army was Igbo. Zik, the president, was Igbo. The acting president, Nwafor Orizu, was Igbo. Zik was far away in the Americas. He said he was on holiday. Holiday in inverted commas. Don't believe that story. Then the person said, would you say Zik was aware of that coup too? And he said, I won't answer that question, because if I answer that question, it will lead to other questions. Don't forget that he came back eventually and went straight from the airport to one Bakari's house in Ikoyi. You see, the area you are taking me to is extremely dangerous, and I don't want to create headlines for you. All right. Nigeria's government needs to actually do something about this history. Because we know about Hitler, and we tell the story. Everybody in Germany knows exactly what happens. I don't know why we always, this one, you know. Let's continue. It says here, so the person asks the question, sir, you have played significant roles in the life of Nigeria. You were in your 20s when you were elected in the parliament, and later became federal minister in the First Republic. You were part of the Constituent Assembly in the 70s that gave birth to the 1979 Constitution that we have continued to modify up to now. You came up with 12 2/3. By the way, you came up with 12 2/3. It was because of him that Awo did not become president, but we'll talk about that later. At every junction in our history, you were there. Some of the people mentioned earlier are dead. You had personal conversation with Akintola and so on. Can you throw more light on what happened? Was there a conspiracy between a section of the political class and the military leadership to take part in the First Republic? Let me just say, yes. This is what he said. There was. Number one, there is a ton of evidence to prove. You know, they've been telling me to write books since. The book is going to come out very soon. Some of these things will be there. Should be able to refer to them. That one here, all right? So I just tell you to go and buy the book instead of telling you to go to one office and one place like that, okay? Where were we? Conspiracy between a section of the political class and the military leadership to take power in the First Republic. And Akinjide says there was. You are taking me to an area which I am avoiding and which I don't want to talk about. There were a number of civilians who were in the Coup conspiracy, particularly in the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, University of Ibadan, and University of Lagos. But all those things have never been unfolded. Let me recommend a book to you guys. Thank you, Calafia on YouTube. I really appreciate it. I'm going to recommend a book, On a Darkling Plain by Ken Saro-Wiwa. When you read that book, you will see what Igbo lecturers planned in Nsukka and the University of Ibadan. And by the time you read, if you read Crisis and Conflict in Nigeria by A.H.M. Green, you will see what they actually did in Ibadan. These guys planted explosives in UI. This was not during the war. There was no war at this time. They talked about it. If you read on a Darkling Plain, they talked about the fact that they were going to do it. But when you read the other one, they actually did it. Well, they almost did it because they had the stuff installed. It says, well, say release your book. I'm working on it, but man, that the kind of thing that has to be in that book. Where were we? So he said, so they asked him, was there a conspiracy between a section of the political class? Sorry, 1 second. Someone says, wow, they crazy blow up an academic institution for what? Let me tell you why, very quickly. Why would they want to blow up UI? Because they, let me find a way to say it. Kakakejkuma jesese. That's the point. Let's go back to where we started. Back to Akinjide. It says here, there were a number of civilians who were in the Coup conspiracy, particularly in the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, University of Ibadan, and University of Lagos. But all those things have never been unfolded. The question is, what should we say now? That is the critical question. Should we review them now or later? If we review them now, are they adding more wounds to our problems or solving our problems? Let me be honest with you. The problem of this country is complex. Even those who play significant roles in the Civil War have been writing books on falsehood, telling lies, and I can attest to it. Most of the books on the South is on the wall now lie full. The only truth is the suffering of their people. Why those things happen, they will never write it. Just perpetuating victimhood and be asking for people to live in peace. Where were we? Even those who play significant roles in the Civil War have been writing books on falsehood, telling lies. When I see such books, I just laugh. I don't know when all will be unfolded, but one day, I think all the truth will be told. Let me tell you something. Our fathers didn't tell us anything, but some of them wrote books. And the best thing they did to us, let me tell you, for a Yoruba person, thank your parents. The best thing that we got was education. So what that meant basically is that even if they didn't write any books, we can use our education to research and find everybody that wrote anything about this event and reconstruct everything and understand what happened. And I'll tell you this, with all sense of modesty, there's a point you get to in reading these things about Kiniko. You don't be wondering. And I asked myself that question this afternoon. Can this country work? If you know the evil that people have done, can this country really work? And it's not because what they've done is evil. I mean, see, people make mistakes, or people can even be terrible. You can have wicked human beings. The crazy part is that the most wicked people in this country, in terms of, see, you can say some people do policy. No, not policy, death, blood flowing, just destroying people's lives. They are the ones that insult the country and curse the country and hate the people. That's why I want Nigeria to work. The way it can work is to create a structure that recognizes our differences and acknowledges everything. What we were before Iransi came to do is nonsense. Or we have to go better than that, by the way. But we have to restructure this country, or else we won't move forward. Let me read to you what Zik wrote to us. So you hear what Baba said. Baba said that a day will come when you try to come out. I think that day has come. I think that day has come. He said some other things in this interview. We'll talk about it some other time. But he said, I don't know when all will be unfolded, but one day I think all the truth will be told. I think that day has come. The only thing I also ask people to do is be respectful and kind in sharing it, because without kindness, you don't have to weaponize Nigeria's history. If you just read some parts of it, some people will be chased out of different parts of Nigeria overnight for what they didn't do, for what their parents did. That's why I'm very careful with the information I put out. Not because I don't want to. But that day has come, when everything has gone. So let's go back to the stuff that Iransi did. I mean, that Azikiwe sent to Iransi. I know today's session has been a bit here and there. It's by design. Normally I don't do sessions like this, but I'm sure you understand why. So let's get back to what Azikiwe sent. So what we should remember, right, is that number one, nobody knew what happened or who was going to take over, by the way, at that time in 66. But Azikiwe began to drop hints that help us appreciate the fact that he was in on what happened. For instance, before we even listen to that, let me read something to you from Ogundipe's perspective, which I've never read here before, but I think is probably going to help us understand this thing. It's also from the Commonwealth relations. So they say here, in discussion with us here over weekend, Dosumu, by the way, Dosumu was acting High Commissioner, has appeared shattered by events. This was 16th January 1966. Dosumu, acting High Commissioner, has appeared shattered by events. Views on Nigerian side have been put almost entirely by new military advisor Ogundipe, who has shown acute, detailed, and intelligent grasp of situation. He strongly urges against President's return, believes that if Abubakar can be rescued unscathed, there will be no bar to his resuming office, but thinks that he would wish to resign permanently shortly after. Listen to what I'm about to read. I've never read this here before, but it says something to us. Mutiny was, in Ogundipe's view, no flash in the pan, but a carefully organized plot. He does not think Okafor capable of having mounted it. By the way, there's another report where they said Okafor was one that did it. So more reports now came out to say that he was one of them, but was not the sole planner of the coup. So Ogundipe is saying here that the coup was not a flash in the pan, but a carefully organized plot. He does not think Okafor capable of having mounted it and believes other more senior people have been behind it, with or without Ghanaian backing. But more generally, he shares our feeling that basis reason was ambition and impatience of junior Igbo officers anxious both to hustle their seniors off the stage and to have a go at the north. He refers to threats made against him by certain juniors while he was commanding brigade in Nigeria. I'm going to just say that one. Make of it whatever you will. I'll read it again. Mutiny was, in Ogundipe's view, no flash in the pan, but a carefully organized plot. I'm not the one saying these things, just to be clear. I'm not making anything. I'm reading documents. This one was actually circulated 16th January 1966. Mutiny was, in Ogundipe's view, no flash in the pan, but a carefully organized plot. He does not think Okafor capable of having mounted it and believes other more senior people have been behind it, with or without Ghanaian backing. Those other senior people, will get to them some other day. But more generally, he shares our feeling that the basic reason was ambition and impatience of junior Igbo officers, anxious both to hustle their seniors off the stage and to have a go at the north. He refers to threats made against him by certain juniors while he was commanding brigade in Nigeria. Ogundipe is gloomy about future. He thinks like us that military action in Enugu. Listen to what I'm about to read, please. Ogundipe is gloomy about future. He thinks like us. Who are the us? He thinks like us that military action in Enugu was mere camouflage designed to present mutiny as something more than Igbo inspired, and imagines events in North to have resulted from Igbo minority in battalion there having collared all available arms. But once northern elements had recovered from initial shock, he foresaw prospects of full-scale revenge and bloodletting. That was January. The same thing he said. What Ogundipe said in January happened in July. What Ogundipe said was going to happen in January happened in July. He said, listen, these guys have taken all these things. It was ethnic. You know, at Monty, you know, if you think that I'm still out of wows, so I'm not going to talk about the other one today because we have to do this small because this one I've been sitting on it for a long time. When I say a long time, I'm not saying somebody says was Ogundipe. No, Ogundipe was second in command in terms of rank. His rank wasn't higher than. It also became major general, right? So Ogundipe was brigadier. It wasn't higher than. Here's my point. Think about it. 16th January 1966, they already know it was Igbo coup, and you are still fighting people all over social media, telling them that Awolowo was organizing a coup in prison. People who should spend their entire life making penance or paying penance, whatever they put or whatever they do, saying sorry, are the ones that will insult everybody and curse you out. Oh, Nigeria is bad. You guys are hating on us. No, but you don't know what happened. Maybe you don't know, to be honest, because many of these people, it is well. I'm going to read what Ogundipe said January 6th. That's what they said was very brilliant. And I said, if you read the report, I mean, if you remember the report we read earlier in 65, then we'll be Everett and the other British guys. They said Ogundipe was the one who wanted to make the GOC. Yes, it was a way studying. Ademelegun was the next option. They preferred him to Ironsi. I don't want to remind you what we read about Ironsi, how they described Ironsi at the time. Thank you for the gift. Oh, God. May God have mercy on Nigeria. There's no way these people's blood will not speak. All right, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much for listening to that. That was Shagari, Akinjide, and Obafemi Ogundipe on the 1966 coup. I'm sure we at least must have learned one or two things, right? Add that to all the things we know already. Essentially, that in 2026, 60 years after the coup, it is ridiculous that people are still denying the obvious. It was very obvious in January 1966, and it's still what it is. And I think what we should be doing really is to try to learn from the past rather than working hard to rewrite it. That makes no sense. Which brings me to what someone was saying earlier in the comment section about the issue of a particular part of Nigeria being, should I say, lost? The truth of the matter is that people don't like to confront the past. There's no ethnic group in Nigeria that has a beautiful, lovely, spotless past. No. Even you as an individual, there are things in your past that, crazy stuff. A sign that you're growing is not that you deny what happened, is that you learn from it and make sure it doesn't happen again. Whenever you see people who would rather deny the past than confront it, you are looking at primitive human beings who will tell you to change the history so that it can make me feel comfortable. How about the people who were hurt by your actions? But then when it comes to the things that happened to them, they want you to remember where they were, victims. But I hope this helps us. And another thing I wanted to say is that, listen, a lot of these fathers knew exactly what happened. I hope you heard what Richard Akinjide said. This was 2018. He said the time will come when these things will come out. They've known this in 66. So that's why I say that the vast majority of our people, we don't know what happened, right? And we just look at it and, only these people are wicked, these people are bad. Mostly because we don't really know why they're doing what they're doing. But I think it's important for us to know that. Not so we can justify wickedness, but so that we can find a way to heal and properly reconcile. And if people don't want to reconcile, just make sure nobody can blackmail you with nonsense, okay? I'm just going to read some of the things in the comment section, and then we'll see if we can still have a couple of people up before we go. Facts only said, Baba, have you spoken about the new school book? I'll do that on Wednesday. I commented on X. I'm beginning to be a bit more active on Twitter. So yeah, I commented on it. Maybe I'll read my comment, but I'll rather speak on it on Wednesday. We were here and you spoke about it. I can't play the video now, Sha. But about it, Wednesday marker. The thing is, so someone is saying, which I don't really believe, that they looked at Nigeria history book and they didn't see anything about Igbos, and then the person now went ahead to list different ethnic groups. What the person didn't realize is that there's no way they're going to have Igbo in that particular topic. When they're discussing that topic, there can be no Igbo there. That's why I say some people that insult the North, saying quota system, federal character, to be honest, be like, say, it's not just the North that's enjoying it. In other words, you have nothing from that era, but we have to include you in order to feel like we have a nation. So we say, okay, there's North, there's West, there must be East, or there must be Southeast. There's North, there's West, there must be Southeast because there's also South. Now, so because they put Efik there, that means they're trying to rubbish us. You had no kings. Let me read to you what I wrote. I'm going to probably read this again on Wednesday, but just because the person talked about it, let's quickly just check. And I don't think there's a problem with it, though. It's in the past. Just let it go. So the person, oh God. Okay, I found it. So the person said the federal government of Nigeria has approved a history textbook for Nigerian schools that excludes the Igbo history. The truth of the matter is that what is Igbo history? Right, what's Igbo history? And if people really learn what their history is, I'm not sure they're going to be very happy. And I try not to talk about it here, because you know how you discuss somebody's history and it looks like jab, like an insult. So I said, this is what I said to the person. We'll talk about it on Wednesday. I said, don't call. So the person made a video and said Igbos are worthless. Is Igbo? Said Igbos are worthless and everything. Just insulted these people. So I said, don't call Igbos worthless, but be careful what you wish for. What you find in that era of your history may make you feel even worse. While others built kingdoms and empires, your forebears did not because they could not. History is not about quota system or federal character. We can't go back in time to change the past just to make you feel comfortable. You did not have an era of kings, conquerors, kingdoms, or empires, and that's fine. Igbo Enweze. This reminds you that we are not all the same in Nigeria. We have different histories and realities, which explains why we act the way we do. Understand that the past is set in stone. Your best bet is to do the right things today so you can build a better future. If you continue on this path of victimhood, your grandchildren may find themselves in the same situation. Evolve. In the last 24 hours, I've seen at least 3 videos of different people just complaining, and then I've seen in like many, I can't even count, many tweets about they didn't put our history. Okay, they want to discuss royalty and monarchies in Nigeria. How do you say that in English language? Like you don't have any kini in that one. Just let it go. If you want to talk about something else, maybe they're going to call you. And somebody was talking about maybe they should read the book by G.T. Baston. I'm like, that's not a book I want to recommend to anybody, because the kind of things that are in that book, people just be glad. Maybe I think it's probably because of them that Nigeria history was, because okay, whose history is being hidden in this country? It's not the Fulani, definitely. All the things they did, good and bad, before the Oyibo came, everything is documented. Right, the way they conquer the place. I mean, that's what shows that you're advanced. It means that you can confront your errors, or you can even make something out of it. Is it you that I want to talk about, or if or even our own internal issues, talk about it? But did I say? We'll talk about that some other time. Let's get back to today's topic before we go. So I just read some things in the comment section here on. Let's start with YouTube. Happy New Month. Yes, Happy New Month to everybody. Beautiful February to everyone. May this be a month of blessings and progress. All right. So, Mr. Adejade, he says, what's his name? I don't know what you're, I can't get, I don't get that question. Akado says, Igbo history is missing. We have been looking everywhere since yesterday. May God help us locate it. I went out of my way a while back to buy, as many books as I could lay my hands on that had to do with Igbo history. And I bought a number of them. Let's just say that there's a reason they begin history in the 1960s, especially 66. There's a reason. And I think we should just go like that. The time I will speak on it is if somebody now maybe just goes ahead and begin to change history. There's a reason Igbo history begins in 1966. And it starts with what happened in July, when they started killing them. Everything that they did before then is forgotten. There's a reason. There's nothing ancient that you can actually lean on. Yes, you have this thing of, and people, of course, give you this thing of, oh, there's republicanism and kiniko. They should just be, everybody should be happy with their history, and it is well. Let's just leave it like that. Akadol says, unless the true history of Nigeria is told and confronted, it will be hard to have a nation built on authenticity. Real progress may be impossible. Absolutely. I think it's important that, whatever it is, just say it. Just say. Of course, there is a way, right? It's an art, right? The way you talk about the past is an art. There are things that sometimes it's not just what you know, it's also how you share it. So you may know certain details. I'll give an example. This morning, I was listening to an interview. Excuse me. I was listening to an interview, and the person was trying to talk about Ogun. It's not that what he's saying is wrong. It's the way the person was delivering it. Sometimes you deliver things to show that you know, but sometimes you're delivering things to try to build. You can deliver an information in order to heal. You can deliver that same information to punish a person. That's how history is weaponized. So I think the fear that a lot of fathers probably had was, how do you share these things? And, you're not going to destroy the country. Therefore, let's go ban history. But the truth of the matter is that these things can be discussed, just like, what's worse than the Holocaust? The Germans knew what happened. They discuss it. They are taught in schools. Everybody knows. So what exactly are we hiding from? And I think that the fact that we are hiding from it actually shows that we are not a nation. Okay, and we can't even build something because we are not going to confront what happened in the past, which is a shame. And it's good that we're not a nation, by the way. I don't think we will ever be one. But as a country, if we're going to be together, some things have to be discussed. And believe it or not, and I'm going to say this before we move to the next point. Believe it or not, discussing what really happened will help. The group that will help the most is actually the Igbos. It will help them tremendously. Tremendously. I receive messages, of course, I receive threats. By the way, if you're saying threats, you don't have sense, because you fall for my sake. What I'm trying to make is that if these things are known, the Igbos will be so blessed, and I'll tell you why. Because they'll discover that, oh, our parents were humans after all. You see, when people go around, just like what they do with Peter B, oh, he doesn't have clinical, he doesn't do clinical, he's different from others, it's a lie. When you think like that, you put yourself on a pedestal. Here's the problem, you can't live up to it. But if you understand that you are human like the rest of us, and I'm not saying that you should, condescend or you should bring yourself down. I'm saying stay where you are, but just acknowledge your mess ups. What that does for you is that it allows you to live like a normal human being. Like, okay, it's like someone telling you now that you don't have the capacity to use the toilet. And so everywhere you're going, you're acting as if, you don't You don't know anything called WC. You don't use anything. It evaporates, goes out through your sweat. Now, once you put yourself in that space, when you go to events, let's say for instance, you feel like you need to ease yourself, you can't do it because you already told everybody that no, choosing is different. But once you allow yourself to know, okay, you know what, I can do this thing, it makes you feel the burden that you have imposed on yourself lifts. So I think that a lot of people from the South would call that, listen, our parents were humans, they made mistakes, and if we can acknowledge it, then we can make progress. But let me tell you something. If Nigeria does not teach Nigerian history, or people keep insulting others when they hear what really happened, they will never not be victims. When I say never, I mean never. 20 years from now, a few months ago, a book surfaced by Ijoma and Tonijuru, where they wrote absolute nonsense. Where they were saying Ife was Kiniko, Igbo's own Ife, and in fact, that's one of the reasons I don't type Igbo as IGBO. That's one of the reasons. And of course, also because all the books I have before they changed it later, it was always IBO anyway. So they were taking advantage of the fact that we have a Yoruba subgroup called Igbo, and they were writing some kind of nonsense. Yoruba spoke against it, but Yoruba did the work. Not to act like, hey, see what you're doing to me. It's like, this is wrong, this is wrong. These other ones, something happens, you don't like it. Number one, they can't change history because of your cries and tears, but then you become the victim. Oh, they hate us, they don't want us to be part of Nigeria. That thing is coming from a deep-seated inferiority complex, that you are the victim of everybody. Now imagine young people in secondary school, young Igbo kids who did not cause the war. They are not anybody's enemies. They're just living their own lives. Imagine that's what they're exposed to. And a very good example you saw in 2023 during the election, where young Igbo kids were praying to God. You see how they are suffering now. Me, I'm a child, and I'm talking to you. Peter Obi must win. Why? You subject a child to emotional torture. You are trying to make that child believe that God will hear that child over anybody else. And then others will now say, and another child said, your brother is now the president. You people are destroying it. These are young kids. So what do you see? Their future is already sorted as far as victimhood is concerned. They will inherit it. But is that right? No. So hopefully everybody can discover that the reason for this history is so that we can know who we are. But if you don't want to heal, please don't heal. Just don't bring it around me. Nobody will be blackmailed here. Okay, let's read a few more things. So Akadol said, unless the true history of Nigeria is told and confronted, it will be hard to have a nation. And by the way, when we say the true history of Nigeria, it's not the history of sole victim. People talk about Oputa panel. You see, I hope you can go and watch the video. That's one of the reasons people cannot heal. Nigeria will be better, but in Jesus' name. But some people can never heal. Because even when they were confronting them with what they did wrong, they were saying it was somebody else's fault. How do you evolve as a people when you think that way? Nobody is perfect. And what makes you actually grow is not that you are sinless. Okay? Growth and maturity do not come because you are sinless and blameless. It actually comes because you know how to acknowledge where you're wrong. And then you can work on it. That's how you grow. Not that you have never done something wrong in your life. That's when I hear people say things like, I've never. I remember once we were having a meeting. It was a business meeting somewhere. And we're talking about trying to reconcile a particular account. And somebody said, have you ever made a mistake? And one of us, he said, I've never made a mistake in my life. I was like, you're in your 60s. What do you mean you've never made a mistake in your life? You're in your 60s. Go possible now. Go possible. Witness some of the person's mistakes. You can't make progress if you don't acknowledge your errors. Anyway, let's read a few more things. Akadol says, indulging the evils is one of the foundation problems of Nigeria. I agree. Adeji Adeye says, it can work if the truth is told. I agree. And he also says that day is here. I agree. I think you're speaking to what Sir Akinjide said when he said the day is coming. Well, these things we put out there. So thank you very much, sir. Trevor Tube says, "Idiot, come here, tell me you're sorry." Yeah. I don't know how they raised you guys in the Southeast. For the most part, majority of you are disrespectful, uncouth, and it's just a shame. It's just a shame that you are the way you are. And it's not an individual thing. It's not a you problem. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural reality. You have no sense of order and direction. You don't think of constituted authorities. You just move around like crazy people. So yeah, write in the comment section. That will be your parents, not me. Dr. Badru says, when do we expect your book? To take a while. Let me not lie. It's going to take a while. I've discovered that there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that has been done, but let's see how it goes. It's not going to take too long, but it will take a while, right? But it's not something like my jadilola. No, I think it's. But work has started though. Work has started. It will be hot soon. Mr. Adeji says it would be great if you can list the references, books, and documents. Some of us can write a few books too. No, I don't do that. See, I'm asking for a list of references. No, I can't. Anybody that wants to, the best I can do is I provide references as I'm speaking. Think about, do you know what you're saying? So I'm writing a book. I should give you all my reference materials so that you can write a book. How does that sound to you? How does that sound to you? So I'm writing a book, then everything, all my reference materials, I should now send it to you so that you can write a book. I don't think that's how things work. I think I do a lot here by not only making statements, but also referring you to the materials. And I think that's good enough. If you want to know any other list, please go on Telegram, go to Radio Me Books. A lot of books are there in different categories, and then you can pick them. I think that's the right thing to do. But I'm going to sit down and type all the books I'll be reading, and I'll send it to you. It's not going to happen. With all due respect, that's not how things work. Thank you for understanding. Okay, that was actually quite fun. I've been hearing, people have been asking for that thing for a long time, but the way you wrote it is even more. I like the way you say you're also writing book. Don't worry, when my book comes out, you can use my book as reference material. That will be better. Elia. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. That was actually quite funny as far as I'm concerned. But don't worry. I think you can pick out the things I'm saying. I remember once somebody said I told the person a book. This particular one, I even told them how they could get the book. The person now said I should tell them the page. It is well. It is well. Let me tell you one thing. Yesterday, somebody commented on one of the videos and mentioned on one of the platforms and mentioned the book. I looked for that book immediately. Like, I didn't leave. I looked for that book immediately. And I made sure I got it immediately. Like, I got that book yesterday. Whatever I'm looking for, the person is mentioning that I'm getting it. And I'll now go and study it and look for it. Whatever I'm looking for, I'll not go there and search. But you'll be asking me for the page of the book that I'm telling you. Meanwhile, what do people do on social media? They just tell you something. They just tell you. Somebody said, and then that's it. Who? We don't know. How do we know? We don't know. Your source material, we don't know. Me, I'm telling you who. I'm telling you the source. And they are asking me for page. I'm like, okay. Yemo says, but authors usually quote source materials in the book itself. With glossary. When you buy my book, you see the glossary. Not that I will be giving you all the materials I want you to write my own book, so I can use to write your own book. See, I'm a son. I see what you're writing in the comment section on TikTok, but no. Just like you said, authors do that. Speakers don't do that. Actually do more than speakers do. Speakers don't come around and tell you if you read Kinikon page, Kinikon paragraph, Kinikon. Speakers don't even bother with glossary. Glossary bao. Okay. So when don't worry when the book comes out. But I think, if you really listen to the things that we read, you can tell what book it is, and then you can, read it out. But even when you read the books, let me give an example. I read books sometimes, and I see, say, for instance, somebody quotes a particular book and talks about the author. I now look for the book, right? In some cases, they might write page. Now look for the book, but it's covered that for the most part, when people quote passages, they don't quote the entire book, they just quote something. But you now want to understand the context. That's the job for the researcher, not for the author, right? Research is a lot of work. To provide this on social media, just be writing a list of books is actually, it's demeaning to my work. Thanks for understanding. All right, Mr. Voji, please ask your question.
We're waiting for your question.
We're waiting for your question.
Someone said to me the other day that.
I see you're more on TikTok. Someone said to me the other day that it's true. Come to think of it, I've received a number of messages like that too. Someone said they're trying to write something, I should provide it. I was like, wait. It's one thing if I'm like a resource person or I'm consulting for you, but one day I even attempted it, to be honest. By the time I got to around 31 books, I was like, you know what? Let's just leave this thing alone. All right, so what's the question of voting? Oh, you want to come up? You can come up. Maybe you can ask that question when you get up.
While we're waiting for voting, let me bring up Battlefield.
Where's voting? Okay, while we're waiting for voting, let me bring up Battlefield. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be discussing Aburi. Just trying to understand Aburi Accord, and then we'll have a session. I'd like us to get into what the gentleman asked over the weekend. Dear Lord. Thank you. I'd like to get into the matter the other person raised last week. Aolo's incarceration, maybe Wednesday or Friday. But tomorrow we'll be discussing Aburi Accord. All right, I can't see Vodi. So, my Battlefield, good evening, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think one thing that has been resonating in your session is the fact that you want to be able to heal. In psychiatry, there's something we call sick role. Sick role means someone who enjoys his sickness. It's either out of benefit or emotional reliance. So you can never stop people like that from enjoying their sick role. They enjoy it. It's like someone now. It's like a beggar. You want a beggar who is blind, who hasn't got any resource to fall back on. You want him to stop begging, so you want to restore his sight. You'll be punishing that person, ensuring that person is old. The same thing with those people we are talking about. They are too old for them to be redeemed. They enjoy their sick role. Sorry to digress a bit. In the Bible, each time Jesus went somewhere, he said, "Do you want to be healed?" He's always asking them because he knows.
That's true.
Some people, they enjoy it. Honestly, we shouldn't be forcing people to heal. They should heal at their own accord. I think until such a time that we agree that people, they enjoy it, it's like a crush. Right? They enjoy orthopedic surgery, and after healing, he still want to use the crush, because for him to adopt, it takes a while. There is a gap. So we should let people heal on their own. We shouldn't force them to heal. It's a psychological trauma. Let them just be like that. They enjoy it. Like you said, they put themselves on the pedestal, and when someone put you on the pedestal, it's like meeting a girl now, sorry, and you say, "Oh, all men are the same." If you dare digress, say, "Oh no, I'm different," you will always be put on the pedestal. The best argument is say, "Yeah, I'm a man like them." Yes, I'm equal. Then that person will come and you can then compromise and probably come to the mid session. But if you keep asking people, oh, you are the best people, so they will never acknowledge any iota of discrepancy in that argument. So the best thing to do, just let them be. When I first, even without even reading that the book, the so-called book, that history book, I said that session was particularly on kingship. And if you know very well, if you have no respect, if you cannot bow to no one, it shows you have no kingdom. And if you have no kingdom, you never have kings. It's so basic. And if you call yourself Republicans, before they used to be so boastful. Oh, we are Republican, we are this, we are that. Then later on they say they are from Israel. You are from this, you are from that. So nobody knows your history. And now the things has come home now. And now it's like someone lying to cover a lie. And when you need to tell the truth, people will think you are still lying. So that's just basically it. Nigeria needs to grow. We need to allow this people to grow, to evolve. You see, part of evolving is you acknowledging your strengths and your weaknesses. But if you keep pushing these people, if you keep pushing the envelope too far for these people, they will never evolve. And we're doing them a disservice. I think it's high time we let them be, let them evolve on their own terms, on their own basis, and it will go for everyone. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Battlefield. I really do appreciate it. To be honest, when it comes to evolution, it's a personal responsibility. I don't think anybody can make anybody grow. However, if you come to my space and you're constantly talking under my people or lying about history or trying to change stuff to make you feel comfortable, I'm going to have to say something. Not necessarily to put you down and become like you, but just set the record straight. If you now decide to get better off of that, that's good. If not, fair enough. But I think, like I always say, primarily my duty is to speak to Nigerians, to Yoruba people first, and then to other Nigerians about what happened so that we can all be informed. And of course, one of the secondary objectives is that, everybody will find something in what we're discussing, including healing. But like you said, you can't force it. But we'll see how that plays out. Vodi, say come again on why Igbo history was not part of that book. They did not say Igbo history was not part of that book.
Based on what he said.
So let me say it this way. The way the guy was talking, right? Based on what he said, because I can't find that book. It's secondary school book, so I can't find it. Based on what that child said, you don't really... how do I explain? It sounded like he was talking about an era of kingdoms and empires. Okay? They're talking about parts of Nigeria or ethnicities that have had, kingdoms and empires and stuff. And the person said that he saw Yoruba, he saw different ethnic groups, he saw Hausa, he saw Efik and some other groups. The truth is, and a lot of people don't respect some people in the Niger Delta. There are ethnicities in Niger Delta that had kings and nobility and stuff like that before Onyibo came. And people may say things like, what's the big deal about having kings? Well, if you never had kings, it shows that, everybody was at the point where they did not have kings, just to start with. Everybody was at that level. But they had to evolve to the point where they are able to bring everybody together so they could have economic power or military might. If you never had that unifying force in your space, it means that you never built anything that could be bigger than what a smaller group could be able to achieve. If you get what I mean, you can't point to anything of significance in terms of weight, in terms of influence in the past. Like you didn't have any influence based on your whether on your military might or on your commercial ability to interact with people from different parts, right? And if you want to have like huge trade networks, most likely you're not going to be doing that in a small group. You want to, harness everything you can get in your particular environment. So it also shows that you probably will not have a lot of understanding when it comes to hierarchies. Okay? Hierarchies and organograms, you're going to have disdain for order, right? Like there's a person who is Oga is Oga or somebody, the Oga or somebody like that. Because everybody is looking at the structure from the top. But you don't have anything like that where you are, everybody is the leader. That thing sounds nice until you discover that nobody takes responsibility for anything. If everybody is a leader and there's no one that takes responsibility for anything, you don't really have any leaders, you just have stakeholders. And the crazy thing about situations like that is that when the rubber hits the road, or let's say something happens, what you're going to hear is nobody's responsible for that thing. It's all of us that did it. And then you hear that, oh, nobody really did it because you can't really mention a particular person who did it. Therefore, you're able to actually grow. Essentially, the point is they are discussing people that have had kings and empires and kingdoms and stuff in their history. When I was in high school, secondary school, what we learned was Oyo Empire, Kanem Borno Empire. That was about the only thing. I didn't even know now that they're even trying to do federal character with history. That's it. And that was it. There's a ton here. Because those are the only ones that you could point to at the time. But of course, as you research, it's that, there was another empire, for instance, in Yoruba land. Then it's called that what Ibadan was actually on its way to becoming before the British the arrival of the British. Then you read about what happened in Hausa and the city-state. There's nothing like that in Igbo history. There was no Igbo state. There was no centralization of power, not even at a town level. Forget people level. Forget like ethnicity level. Even at a town level, there was no town. And like I said, some people's history be like insult, but it's not insult. The only group that had a town, or what you could call a town, did not call themselves Igbos until about 80 years ago. That's Onitsha. And their own trajectory or their own journey, they will say is from Benin. And that's why some people are always connecting them to Ife. And that's why they are the only group in that place that had a king or a town. But they never called themselves Igbo. Shirley Marquez, as late as the 1920s, if you read J.T. Basden's book, the Onitsha man did not call himself Igbo. He said everybody to the west was Enoani, everybody to the east is Igbo. He never called himself Igbo. Even in 1963-64, there was still an issue between the Onitsha and the rest of the Igbos. And you still see today in 2026, when you hear Anambra Igbo is higher than Kinikon, that thing is not coming from Anambra State, it's coming from Onitsha. That Onitsha ideal has now spread to the entire state that Onitsha is the capital, that Onitsha is the commercial capital of, which is Anambra State. They now use that over other groups and say, okay, this one is the superior Igbo. It's not coming from people that are just being bad today. It's an idea that has started long ago. Because number one, they didn't even call themselves that because of the meaning of the word Igbo. The meaning is not very cool, by the way, but I don't like talking about it. So they didn't call themselves that. They thought they were, primitive. They never called themselves that. So when they started calling themselves that, they now had to have that hyphenated identity. We're like, you know what? Even if we're going to call ourselves this, so we are different from the rest of you. So what I'm trying to say basically is that the folks who actually had that identity never really got to the point of building towns or having any centralized power, which means that you will not be able to achieve anything great. And I'll say this, I'll probably say this again on Wednesday when I want to talk about this matter. You cannot find one city or town in human history that achieved any greatness without centralized authority. You will not find one. Guys, please search. If you find, let me know. Maybe I'll also get to learn. But I'm saying this because I also searched. There has to be that person that everybody rallies around. It has to be. People have to rally around a particular. It could be an individual. Most likely, it has to be an individual. Because somebody has to provide vision. This is what I want to do. Maybe it's based on the person's ego or ambition or a dream or some divine whatever. But there's somebody saying this is how we're going to do it, and they will go and do it. And then that also gives people a sense of purpose and identity in the world. Talk to people who had kingdoms and empires. See how they talk. Even if the empires and kingdoms don't matter anymore in 2026, still listen to the way they speak. There's a sense of pride, not pride as in arrogance. I'm saying pride of like this self-love, like they are self-assured. there's a way they carry themselves. Like, we have a purpose in this world. We're not just here to eat and go. We want to build something. They are builders. They've built a city. They've built something. And if you're a Yoruba person, you will know that you come from we are city people, right? We're very we're city people. We've been building towns and cities for more than 1,000 years. So that gives you an identity. Like, you want to build something. You want to attract people from different places. These little things actually affect the way people move. That's why Americans talk the way they do. That's why the British used to speak the way they used to speak, although not as even till today. They still sound that way in some instances. Apart from this whole nonsense about trying to apologize for their greatness, which is a product of white guilt, which is unnecessary. It's like someone telling me that I should apologize because Oyo did something to down me. Why should I apologize for that? I'm proud of Oyo for doing what they did at that time. They won't try that kind of thing again, Sha. But then you think about it, if you really look at what's happening, God said, what's the difference between what Oyo did in Dahomey, what Britain did across the world, and what America was going to do to Greenland recently? It's about power. Is America apologizing for having the power they do now? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that you have a sense of identity, you move around the world. Then the last one also is the fact that you have a structure, like very, very cool structure in your place. And if you use Yoruba as an example, for instance, because you have a king, right, you discover that every stratum of society, you have to replicate that structure. And I'm not saying it is perfect. I'm just saying that it helps you to create order. So there's someone who's that has to take responsibility for stuff, right? There's somebody who gives us direction. There's somebody who gives us vision, whether at the family level, at the community level, right? We may choose the person or whatever, or however the person gets there. Also, if for instance you have people who wants to fight you, you are able to better protect yourself. I'll give you this example. You see, we had smaller groups, right? Like every other group, and then eventually we came together. Now, if you have another group that wants to come and raid, if you are small, it's easy to pick on you, which is what happened in the Southeast. Okay, people can just come in there, pick you, and do whatever they want to do, and it happened. The Benin did it. They just did it. Folks from Calabar did it. Different groups did it. Equally, people were the middlemen. I don't want to go into the details, but I hope you know what I'm talking about. But again, you get the point. The reason is because you bá sọ pé báwo ni wọ́n bá ṣe sọ̀rọ̀ kí ní ìjò yìí o àìrìnpọ̀ ọmọ ìjò ẹni tó bá mọ òwe yẹn ó máa parí ẹ̀ àìrìnpọ̀ ọmọ ìjò. Like if everybody is doing their small, you are the king of one lungu. We're not king Sha, but you are the one Sha. You shall have autonomous community all over the place. Because you are doing àìrìnpọ̀, it's easy for people to prey on you. Now, and then also it shows that you are not even thinking beyond survival. There's no structure, there's no politicking, there's no statecraft. So there are so many things about it, right? But we'll talk about it on Wednesday. But I'll answer your question, Vodi. So the idea basically is that I call up all my jolong ko iku pa won. So when everybody is doing small groups, it's easy for the enemy to prey on those groups, right? And that's what we also had that experience as Yoruba people, right? When we're all doing autonomous communities, but we stopped doing that about more than 1,000 years ago. People still do it in Nigeria. It's quite interesting, which is not bad. Whenever you wake up, it's your morning. It's just that you can't be sleeping and tell everybody that they should all go back to sleep because you are not awake yet. So I think that's the problem we have in our history. All right. Your mind says there's a reawakening currently going about the Nigerian history with a lot of focus on the Igbos. The seemingly false narratives about their history that they've enjoyed over time is being exposed. So here's the thing, and I think I've said this before. 2020 1992, when folks are beginning to insult your Bible. We never even win elections. They're not the talk. I'm just insult you, just like it is for Buhari. And I said it's not going to be business as usual, right? It's important that people actually study this history. All the leverage Igbos have in Nigeria is victimhood. It's superiority / inferiority complex. That thing that makes you feel you're better than everybody while you're being the victim is the one that will take away the advantage that victimhood actually provides. When people are showing, pity because they think you're the victim, and you constantly tell them you are better than them, after a while they're going to actually look at the root of the matter. Like, is it really better than me? And in searching, they discover that not only are you inferior, you were not even the victim that you claim to be, and your power is gone. How people understand these things? Anyway, but thank you for that. Dr. Badu says, and they shake, leg they shake. They sing about 2022. Yes, now they insulted Tinubu. See, my own is if you insult Tinubu, he said he wants to be president, Abi. I'm sure he knew that you're going to insult him. That's okay. But you can't leave him and be insulting Yoruba people, especially when you're not all that. Like, you're really not all that. Then the second one is when you now begin to make demands on the country. Two reasons made me get into this whole thing. Number one was the fact that Yoruba people were being insulted heavily for no reason, apart from the fact that they had their son as president of Nigeria. Number two was the audacity of people to tell Nigerians to pay 10 trillion naira reparations. I was like, okay, at this point we have to begin to speak up. But I just hope, and I should say this, that regardless of what we're, unearthing, that we do it with grace. Okay? So it's not like you're trying to, and there's a reason I'm always saying this, by the way, is because no matter how good a thing is, if we don't handle it with care, it can actually destroy stuff. It's like a knife. The knife can be used to cut vegetables. There's nothing wrong with having a knife. But if you have the wrong intentions, you can use a knife to stab people. Okay, so the important thing is to be careful what you're using it for. But of course, you've got to use a knife. So, yeah, a lot of things are going to come out. Many more things are going to come out. But let's just, let's do it with grace. But protect your people and be proud about it. All right. I think we're done with the comments. I'd like to thank everybody. Like I said, I know on Mondays we usually come on camera and all of those things, but today I have to be somewhere soon. So I want to thank everybody who came here. Tomorrow we're gonna have Aburi Accord. There are two parts to it. Right. So the first part we're going to listen to tomorrow. Where each part even has two parts anyway. So listen to the first part tomorrow, and then we'll break down decree number 8 later this week. On Wednesday, we're going to get into Aolo's incarceration and how he ended up in prison. People have said all kinds of things since 1963 that he was incarcerated, like, oh, this is what he did. Is it true what they said or not? Let me quickly say something. If Papa did something wrong, believe me, I'm going to say it. Because I don't think that, we have a way of explaining what our forebears did, not to demean them, but to learn from their mistakes. So that will not be a problem for me. Oh, I will messed up here. He messed up. Oh, don't do it again. Oh. But if he did not mess up, I'm not going to make him look like a devil just to be able to pander to some stupid narrative. Okay, I hope we agree. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, what this copy says, this is your topic here. Is it a book too? Don't worry, when this thing comes, let's leave the book. Let's just focus on what we are learning. Whether it's in a book or you are listening to, the important thing is that we are learning something. So whatever happens with the book will happen. But let's just concentrate. I should be talking more about the book because, of course, I would like to sell when it eventually comes out. But the real goal is not to sell books, although I want to sell like millions, is to ensure that we're learning. So the books are not here right now, but we have a video to watch or recordings to listen to. Let's just learn together, okay? Whatever topic we're going to have, that one is in the future. All right. This is like the earliest I'm leaving a live session on a Monday. Okay, you know what? Let's bring two people up, and then please don't send your request again after these two people, and then we can go. Thank you. So we'll have Abdurrahman, and then we'll have. Thank you, Ojuge. Thank you, Abdurrahman. Then we'll have Bumblebee. Please go on.
Yeah, you mean I should talk?
Yes, please. Good evening.
All right, good evening, Prof. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
We thank God. Prof, I don't know how you are going to see this. I think it will be a good idea if you can compile the loss, calamity of the January 66 coup to be at least a different from this kind of books that you are reading. What I mean is to concentrate on the laws, impunity, the way it affected the Nigerian system. I don't know if you understand me.
I'm trying to.
Yes, that is my suggestion, to concentrate on these areas. I don't think I ever see a book or listening to any lecture that concentrates on the fallout of the 66 coup. I don't know whether it will be okay for you or not. Then the second thing that I want to talk about, Prof, is the issue of Wahhabism, the extremist Muslims. I have been wanting to talk about it for a long time. I'm in total support of enlightening people in the Southwest about this extremist, because we are suffering from the same thing here in northern Nigeria, especially Wahhabism and Salafist. If I can remember correctly, since 98 or 99, Southwest has taken over with 60 to 70% of all the scholarship from the Saudi Arabia. The outnumbered northern Nigeria, including Niger. So you can imagine people have been training in those CIA schools where they are indoctrinated with extremism. Like now, if someone, you can ask any Christian in northern Nigeria, the Muslims that are not belong to as infidel, they call us and Christian, or they label us, we Muslims and Christians, as infidel. That is why you see Boko Haram, they are not discriminating in their killing. To them, we are all infidel. And at the same time, that is very funny to hear somebody sitting comfortably in AC somewhere in the south.
Sorry, please begin to wrap up, please.
Christians have been killed. So it's better to focus on that Wahhabism and Salafist, even though you have to accept the fact that in Islam, people don't have much liberty. I can't say liberty, or you cannot use your brain to say this is how things are supposed to be. It's a religion that encompasses everything. It's a way of life. So I will stop here since you said I'm running out. One Yoruba princess, I think it will align with your pan bath in Southwest, and it will equally add value to what you are reading. So maybe next time I will talk about her. But it's a very interesting story. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I'll look forward to that. Dr. Badru says a book that aggregates different authors' points around the January 1966 school. Oh, okay. But one of the things I should say is that it will most likely be something that.
Thank you.
Well, don't worry.
We might change some. I should even say this.
Don't worry.
Change
Thank you.
the way we do our
Okay.
Right.
We might change some. I should even say this. We might change the way we do our shows. Right. Might have a little amendment. We still have 5 days a week as we're doing it, but maybe instead of having 3 days on camera, maybe 2 days, because like researching is the real. Typing is one thing. Researching is a lot of work. So, but I'll let you know. Thank you very much for that. Let's have our final speaker, Bumblebee. Good evening, Bumblebee.
Good evening, Prof. Good evening, Prof.
Hello, Erasal.
Thanks for bringing me up.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I really just want to, first of all, acknowledge the fact that these the teachings is a very, very powerful tool. Number one, in creating awareness amongst our people, so that they can position themselves appropriately. Instead of people guilt tripping them to giving up their birthright. So it's good for people to be aware of what really happened. Number two is I like the fact that your teachings are titled properly and they are organized and presented on YouTube, and it serves as a sort of repository, so that even when you want to make reference to quotes from the live and from the teachings, you can easily tell someone, go to so channel. I was telling someone one time, the person is like, what you are saying could be wrong. I said, look, the person that presents the topic on the channel makes a lot of references to books, to people, to events, and they are very concise, and that gives it a lot of legitimacy. So another suggestion I would give on the side, as a side note, is that the level of accuracy and scrutiny with which you deal with these topics and you present it, I would really love for that to be sort of reflected in the book, in the sense that it would be really.
Wait, do everybody's talking about this book? Everybody's talking about book. But I say this book has to come out like tomorrow.
No, it doesn't have to
Okay.
come tomorrow, Prof. In fact, that was where I'm going to. What I'm saying,
Okay.
what I really want to get to is it's the way you present your work on YouTube.
Okay.
There was a time I binge watched a lot of videos you watched, you made in the past. Someone referred me to it, and I went online. I'm like, look, with this what we are seeing in our community, these are the sort of, the person is like, look, go and check so and so person's channel. Then at the moment I went there, I was just binge watching a lot of things, and that really, really helped give a lot of perspective on a lot of things. So what I was going to suggest on the book is, for number one, is if you are able to present the ideas in the book, the history and everything, the way you present the content of this channel, the book is going to serve a very, very, very powerful purpose, in the sense that if it's as structured as the teachings are structured, someone can say, okay, on this issue, I know you want to argue, go to so book, so chapter, so topic. That person trashed it out there with references and quotes from so people, and this is what happened. This is the narrative of the event that transpired. So they will go there and their doubt will be cleared. Number two, maybe consider collaborating with a very, very reputable collaborating and co-authoring with a very, very reputable professor of history or something, so that the work can be very robust, or it could even be in volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, such in the way that Awolowo presented some of his books and thoughts.
Don't worry. Would you like Awo? Oh, I thought you were done. Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, the last thing I just want to say.
I thought you were done.
The last thing I want to say is just give a shout out to Abdurrahman on his submission on religious extremism. It's good that people that are Muslims are coming out to say these things. This is the key to having balance in our society. People that are internal stakeholders, we are Christians, some of us are Christians, that we sort of tiptoe around this topic because we don't offend our friends and family and all. But it's good when balanced Muslims come out to correct their people. They come out and say, look, this thing is not going to work like this. Society is not going to move forward if we carry on this way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that submission. And it's also quite heartwarming to hear Abdurrahman say what he said about Wahhabism. I just didn't want to dwell on it because I know myself, I might get into other things. But thank you very much for speaking on it. Yeah, so it's going to be I think it's most likely going to be the tone. What I'm also trying to do is I'm also trying to make sure that it's something that is not written like a conventional book, something that's going to be easy to get into, especially as far as social media users are concerned. So am I going to work with a professor? Maybe not. One of the things I've discovered, right, is, and this is something I've noticed for a while now. Number one, a lot of academics want to be politically correct. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And a lot of them are Yoruba, by the way. They don't want to hurt. And I don't think it's okay to go out of your way to hurt people, just to be clear. I don't think you should publish books or have shows like we're doing or have classes to hurt or demean another group. That's unnecessary. However, I think that the idea where you pander, it's one thing to not want to hurt a person. It's another thing to pander to the point where you can't even say the truth. And I notice that a lot of academics are in that particular category. I'm not saying all, obviously. A lot are in that category. They don't want to. Let me explain something to you. Sherry, if you really want to know how some of our people do things, just think of how lecturers behaved during the war in Ibadan. That's exactly how a lot of our academics behave. Not all, but a number of them. And I listened to one over the weekend. What then do me, Sha? I'm thinking about it right now. What then do me? There is no self-awareness. You're talking to somebody who is not from your ethnicity. You're divulging things that, and you're saying it in a way that is not even so. It's like you just want. The point is, I rather just respect them and do what I have to do rather than work, because they need to be seen that way, And it's. I remember buying some books once. There's a particular book. I won't mention the author's name. He's a professor very known across the world, well known. I returned that book. I was like, "What was this?" And I think that's the only book I've returned. I was like, I can't spend all this money on this book, and essentially, you're buying some that will now. And this is not challenging your thoughts. This is playing around the points and trying to demean you in order to make space for another group so you can feel like you're building one country. That's rubbish. So, and by the way, I also learned from a lot of them, to be clear. I also learned from a lot of them. Someone says it's good to mention the book. No, it's not good. I'm not going to demarket another person's book now. No, it's not like that. How will I mention the person's book? It's not like the person was. No, I'm not going to mention. I can't. I don't think it's fair. The point I'm trying to make, though, is you get exposed to all kinds of things, and it's the same thing. You see some interviews, right, of your elders. Listen to them talk. Listen to some of our Yoruba elders when they have grand interviews about the war. Listen to them talk. Let me tell you something. Number one, they don't even know what they're saying. And I say this with all respect. They don't know what they're talking about. They've not read anything on the matter, apart from the newspapers of the day. And I say, again, I don't know everything. But I think if you listen to Shagari, and you listen to Richard Akinjide, and you listen to Alexander Majepo, and you listen to Anthony Nauro, and you listen to Gowon, and you listen to Ojuku, by the time you listen to all of them, you should be able to recreate what happened. But no, they are going from the place of, these people suffered. Therefore, let's just say, that's, how can you arrive at that kind of conclusion? Now, you can arrive at that kind of conclusion if you are discussing a Yoruba matter. Although you still have to acknowledge what really went wrong. And that's the funny thing about Yoruba people. We are very brutal on ourselves. But we give other people this, not even other people. We don't give the Hausas that kind of pass. We give the Igbos that kind of pass because of the war. Many people should remember what their fathers were like in the 1940s. I read a book last week. These Babas, they are that enough. And you see, you know what they say. What's that cycle? There's this cycle that they talk about of strong men and hard times, right? When strong men, they create. How did they put that? I think you probably know that thing. Where, let me find a way to see if I can find it. So, okay, let me use strong and weak. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. And then the cycle continues. Let me say it again. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. Then strong men create good times, and so on and so forth. So the cycle continues. I think that somewhere in our own evolutionary journey, we got to a particular point where we just had this fantastic production of very weak people. And they're on social media, you see them. They're the descendants of certain people. They were born in good times. Everything, and I'm not saying everything was perfect, but everything was better than what the Maolo would have experienced. It matter now. Can we not just be together and everything? But see, what they don't is that they are weak, and that weakness will create hard times that will now create strong men. And I'll tell you something, we are this close. The only reason and by the way, whatever will start the hard times started a few years ago during that election. If you don't respond, the real hard time will now come. What will happen is that you will find yourself subjugated, like what happened in 64. I don't think people really understood what happened to Yoruba people between 1960 and 1966. We were shut out of everything. Why do you think the NCNC people, who were Yoruba people, why do you think they turned around in 1964? And they're like, wait, at this point, at this point, these people are taking us for granted. In 64, why did that happen? Because they discovered that all this was actually displacing themselves, which is what is happening, what would have happened if we don't speak up like this. And I don't want to create tough times for my children or hard times for my children. It's important that you stay strong, you raise strong people that can now create good times and hopefully raise strong men. And I know that's possible because I see Singapore. Tough times, terrible times created those first founders, Lee Kuan Yew, in the 1960s. Then they created good times and found a way to also create strong men, which is one of the reasons I always respect Lee Kuan Yew. Not only did they create a strong society or a good society, they also created strong men so that his legacy is not dead.
strong men. That's why you cannot mention any
And Awo did the same thing. Awo did not just create good times. He created strong men. That's why you cannot mention any major Yoruba leader since the 1950s that's not connected to our school of thought. Whether it was Bola Ige, or it was Omobori Owo, sorry, not Omobori Owo, Adekunle Ajasin, or Lateef Jakonde, or Olabisi Onabanjo, or even Ambrose Ali, you have to find that connection to Awo.
I don't know what to call them, outliers. Who are now
But for some weird reason, you always have this,
who are essentially the
I don't know what to call them, outliers, who are now very loud because of social media, who are essentially the weak ones that were never raised by strong men. I mean, they were raised by good times.
I just need a number of books on Battlefield. I don't know the particular one you're talking about.
My Battlefield, have you read it? He has written a number of books on my Battlefield, so I don't know the particular one you're talking about. If you mention that particular book, I'll be able to answer. What I'm saying basically is that with all due respect to our elders, I think a number of them just had just
Like what you see in the US, everybody
are just chilling, right? It's like what you see in the US, everybody just chilling, like everybody just cool. But no, and it's wrong. Again, I think what you should do as a person is be gracious, love people, let it show in what you're doing, but don't pander. Because if you do, what you're doing is that you're setting up your generation, you're setting up the children up for drags. We will not be able to speak now.
even that book, although
We'll not be able to speak. It's like when you read a book by Adewale Ademoyega. Even that book, although it was, he spoke up about things like what Iransi did, what the Igbos did. He spoke what Ojukwu did. He talked about it. But even the way he talked about the coup, he was essentially blaming himself
began to find
until he now shifted it to what really happened after the revolutionary coup. That was when he began to find. I mean, if you read that book and you try to get into his mind, it was the portion when he began to talk about what these people did, the Rossi and the rest. That was when he began to find relief.
he wasn't even responsible for it. Well,
Until then, it was like as though the world was on his shoulders, like he was responsible for. He wasn't even responsible for it. Well, he was part of those people who are responsible, but it wasn't the main person. If you get what I'm saying, it wasn't the main character. But he felt like he was carrying the weight. A young Yoruba person reads that book without reading any other thing. Things that we have to apologize. Apologize for what?
try to erase or rewrite history to suit their narrative.
Ojoge says on TikTok, another thing is that weak men now try to erase or rewrite history to suit their narratives. No. The weak men who are rewriting the history are rewriting that history to suit the narratives of strong men from another place.
There are people who, when you hear a person who tells your story,
You see?
it's always about, see what they did to me.
There are people when you hear a person who tells a story, and it's always about, see what they did to me, I have suffered. That person, especially if they have the right tools, they can weaponize your empathy to make you actually rewrite history, which is what I say that a number of Yoruba people do. I've seen elders, and I'm not going to mention their names because, of course, I don't want any disrespect. But you see, like, let me give you an example. There was one a while back when he said, it was not an Nzogu coup. Okay, so I was like, okay, why are you going with this? And then he was just saying that it was just revolutionary. Okay, so whose coup was it? He didn't say. Well, you can't really call it an Igbo coup. So I was like, okay, explain why you can't call it an. These were intellectuals, though. And I remember that Soyinka was in prison for 20 months.
And a lot of lecturers in UI
Soyinka was in prison for 20 months.
even though the Biafrans were trying
And a lot of lecturers in UI at the time supported Biafra. Even though the Biafrans were trying to bomb UI. They're trying to blow up University of Ibadan. They were in UI supporting You don't know how crazy this thing can be. So you just feel like you are in Ibadan. You are trying to get the federal government to do something. I mean, Soyinka was sending messages to Obasanjo. Eventually had to meet Obasanjo in order to allow Victor Banjo. Think about it. An Igbo man sent a Yoruba man. to go to Yoruba land and invade Yoruba land, and he reaches out to another Yoruba man, that's Victor Banjo, he reaches out to another Yoruba man, Wole Soyinka, to help him reach another Yoruba man, Olusegun Obasanjo, so they can go into Yoruba land and take it over for the Igbo man that will not control the Yoruba land. It's in his letter, Ojuku's letter to Victor Banjo. And while the UI intellectuals, Yoruba, just trying to be fair and let's not be harsh, while they were doing their wonderful Kajo inside campus, their former colleagues that were in Nsukka were planning with other colleagues in UI to blow up UI, and they were caught.
That's why I say, don't have this thing of like you have to apologize for anything. What it does, it destroys your civilization.
Is why I say don't have this thing of like you have to apologize for anything, because what it does, it destroys your civilization. Is what's happening in America today. This white guilt, I see it, is what's happening in the UK. That's why British can't speak. They feel guilty because they were an empire. Why should you feel guilty because you were an empire? Oh, they took slaves, and so?
It's the story of the world.
They took slaves, they went from one country to another. They had power.
About 400 years.
It's the story of the world. They were preyed upon at the time too. The Romans preyed on them for years, about 400 years.
But guess what? They were also the ones who abolished slave trade.
Romans preyed on them, they preyed on others, it was bad, but guess what? They were also the ones who abolished slave trade. That's something to be proud of. If I were British, I'd be very proud. But no, somebody will go and tell them that, hey, remove all your statues, all these your white people, see what you did in India, see what you did in Nigeria, you did this in Africa. They're not saying, yeah, sorry. Before you know it now, people are now moving to your country, changing the dynamics of your country, your demographics, everything is changing, but you can't say anything. Why? Because you have to make up for the things your parents did. What kind of nonsense is that?
Something wrong, right? Apologize. Imagine the English now go to Rome.
If your parents did something wrong, right, apologize and go. Imagine the English now go to Rome, go and talk to Italians that they should also do to them, or because the Italians, the Romans took over power and did something to England, therefore they also want them to come and feel sorry.
You should feel compassion for them
That means that we're going to create a world of sissies.
if need be. For example, if they are
You should feel compassion for the people that you hurt and apologize if you have to, if need be, because there's never anything I have to. And that's the funny thing. They're always shouting about transatlantic Guinea. They never talk about what the Arabs did. Trans-Saharan slave trade was even crazy. Nobody talks about that.
shouting on top of
I don't see anybody from Eastern Europe, shouting on top of the Arabs and the folks in Ottoman Empire. Say for 400 years you were selling Slavs, therefore come and say sorry. No, those ones are still doing their Islam. It is you that you're Oyinbo because and that's another thing. I know I've let my topic go. One of the problems that Oyinbo people have is that they've also placed themselves on a pedestal.
one of the problems America
Guys, I know it's not today's topic. I just want to say something. Maybe I'll talk about this some other day.
is that they have put themselves
One of the problems that America and the UK has, or one of the problems they have, both of them, is that they have put themselves on a pedestal of moral superiority.
everything you say England did.
Therefore, people judge them based on that, not based on what they even did. For instance, everything you say England did, Saudi Arabia did just about the same thing, if not worse. Or people in Turkey, different parts of Middle East, they did the same thing. You don't talk it because they're not calling themselves superior.
So let nobody make you feel sorry. Your fathers were there trying
Anyway,
to
all I'm saying is that if you're a Yoruba person, let nobody make you feel sorry. Your fathers were there trying to pander to people. I can never, let me not say I can't understand it. How you be in UI, in safety of your own place. So you now be there and say, okay, how can we get into this thing? And then now reach out to Obasanjo. Shrinka told Obasanjo that they should allow this one to come in. When you think about it now, like what were they thinking?
get into Ibadan. Therefore, Ibadan to Lagos.
Obasanjo should allow Victor Banjo to get into Ibadan. Therefore, Ibadan to Lagos. Meanwhile, Victor Banjo is carrying a letter.
He's saying that
Victor Banjo is carrying a letter where Ojukwu is saying that once you take over the Western region, we'll be the one to determine how long we get to stay in there. He said we're going to be there and occupy that place until we deem it necessary to leave. He's saying he's going to appoint Victor Banjo as governor, although he has already said the same thing to Adewale Ademoyega. It's in his own book through Chukwuka.
so
He's saying when you get to Lagos, we are going to appoint the administrator in Lagos.
And you, a Yoruba man, you're turning under Yoruba
So
man,
think about it. Victor Banjo is carrying that kind of letter,
of what?
and you, a Yoruba man, you're turning under Yoruba man to allow him to get in because of what?
We can't.
You're educated and sophisticated, Abi.
Said, Kiriko, Daddy is a wonderful daddy.
We can't. All these things are, and Daddy said, Kiriko, Daddy is a wonderful daddy. My daddy, Daddy is wonderful. But Daddy has another daddy. Awo had to speak up August of 1967 in Ibadan.
And that they want to come and
Awo said, they said we are under the Fulanis,
we're not under anybody.
and that they want to come and release us from under the hold of the Fulani. He said, number one, even if we're under Fulani's yoke, we're not going to need anybody from outside to come and get us out of the yoke of the Fulani. It's in the book by Odugua,
Then he said that
the political Moses.
ethnicity is allowed.
We're not going to need them to do that. Then he said that nobody, regardless of the ethnicity, is allowed to come into Yoruba land.
By now, all of you will be speaking Igbo.
Imagine how didn't speak up.
You'll be Chukuma.
By now, all of you will be speaking Igbo.
No disrespect.
So they are saying you'll be Chukuma and Ijoma. No disrespect to Chukumas and Ijoma, but that was Ojuku's plan.
Consistent. So the question is that who are you going to be like?
What I'm saying basically is that that thing is consistent. So the question is that who are you going to be like? And by the way, with all due respect to Professor Oleshenka, after spending 20 months in prison for the Igbos, how did they treat him? Not now. When you won the Nobel Prize, what did Achebe say? Does anybody remember?
African literature. That's what Achebe said.
He said Nobel Prize doesn't make anybody the Ashiwaju of African literature. That's what Achebe said.
Enugu before they declared war, trying to find a way.
Forget all the sacrifices. This one was going to Enugu before they declared war,
I would love everyone.
trying to find a way around it.
It's not in the name of war. And they just
I'd rather be like Awo.
do.
I will love everybody, but I'm going to protect my space. Not in the name of oil. And let's just pander. Let's just do well now. Let's not look as if they are bad. I'm not saying anybody is bad, but you have a duty to your home, or else your entire lineage will be robbed of by people whose culture. And I say this with all sense of respect, but sincerely, the culture is less.
Destroy your home. And how do you know the culture is less? Because people have not stopped the
Or you destroy your home.
Baba, Professor Shoyinka.
And how do you know the culture is less? Because people have not stopped insulting Baba, Professor Shoyinka. All he has to do is just say something they don't like. They insult him. Everybody forgets everything he has ever done for them. There is no recollection of any good in the past.
20 days
To even temper something at 20 months.
for you, and all
These people's parents never spent 20 days in prison. But this one spent 20 months for you, and all he had to do is to just disagree with you. You hurled insults at him.
our culture, you and your children will find yourselves to be.
If you kill yourself for a person who has a lower culture, you and your children will find yourselves to blame. You have yourselves to blame. And that's the thing, that's the reason we speak the way we do. Not out of hate for anybody. But I ask the question myself sometimes, what if Awo didn't speak up in 1967? Ojuku, sorry, what's his name? Victor Banjo would have just entered with Ojuku's boys. And they were not going to Lagos because it was capital. They were taking over places. By the time you read Anthony Nauro's article, a speech in Addis Ababa, he said it there that captured documents from Biafra shows that the plan was after taking the east, they will take the entire south, which is clear from Ojuku's letter. And that after taking the entire south, they are going to go north.
He's a man that says a Yoruba man who is just this calm, collected, things that
Is the man that says a Yoruba man who is just this calm, collected, things that because you think good of everybody thinks good of you. You'll now be the one to be telling you your own history. You'll now be like, oh, okay. So, and I'm saying this because, every time, almost every day, now they will mention certain names. I'm not going to mention them here. Chief Kinikon said this. Mr. Kinikon, Professor Kinikon said this. You are against what they are saying. It doesn't matter if the person who said to you was your Dibia. I don't care. And I've said it before. The most respected person, as far as I'm concerned, in Nigerian politics is Awo. But guess what? There are some things that Papa could have done better. If I can critique Papa with all due respect, I mean with all honor and reverence, and I don't just critique him flippantly. If I can do that to him, there's nobody on this earth I cannot critique. Nobody born of a woman. Because you can't even lace our shoes. So all these things that people send messages, and I'm talking to certain people, sending me message and say, Chief, can you say this? I don't care what Chief said. That Chief gonna say if he's in front of our mama buruni. So let everybody just calm down. We respect our fathers, we respect all this, but we have to make sure that we don't destroy our land all in a bit to pander. And if a Christian, it's not Christianity to be stupid. It's not Christianity to forget what happened, right? Especially when the person you are dealing with is going to use it against you. You'll be stupid to do that. You're stupid to do that. And I know they're going to use it against you because every single thing that happened in the 60s still happens today. Everything still happens. Everything still happens. May God bless Nigeria. Mr. Lakunjumana, good to see you. It's been a minute. It says here, so Achebe even spoke Yoruba. I am not surprised. It's schooled in Ibadan. No Igbo person is worth our pity all this day. No, I didn't say Achebe. I don't know if Achebe spoke Yoruba. I know he went to UI, but I'm not sure. I don't know if he spoke Yoruba. But I know Ojuku spoke fluent Yoruba. Azikiwe spoke fluent Yoruba. And it's actually because of those people I discovered that guy speaking somebody's language doesn't mean you have assimilated or integrated into the culture. A person can speak Yoruba and would definitely not care about your value system. E.g., Azikiwe. One of these days, I'm going to do a session on what happened between Azikiwe and Yoruba Tennis Club in Lagos. It's crazy. Battlefield says, I will spoke fluent. Are you sure? No. Bolaige is the one I know spoke Igbo. Bolaige could speak Igbo. He could speak Hausa. I don't think I could speak. I don't know. Maybe you may be right, but I've not seen it. But I know Bolaige. Bolaige grew up in Kaduna. That's why it was called Kaduna Boy. Bolaige grew up in Kaduna. He could speak Hausa. He could speak Igbo. And he's very, very good. And he also studied classics. Fantastic, man, that man could speak English. Jesus Christ, that man could speak. Not to be using phonel, not to be using accent or Nigerian proper. And his Yoruba was brilliant. Dr. Badru says, yes, Akintola spoke Hausa. Akintola grew up in Mina, in Niger State. He grew up in Mina. So he spoke Hausa very well. He spoke Yoruba very well. His English was impeccable. My prayer for us is just, my prayer to God for everybody, just that we'll pick the best from all these people and that will build a better future. Vodis copy says accent is part of English. No, so no, accent is not part of English. We want to move on that topic. Accent is actually localized. So if accent were to be part of English, the question would be what accent are we using? For instance, in England, there are different types of accent, but everybody uses RP. Okay. When I say everybody, I mean BBC, the Palace, FC, anything of consequence that brings everybody together is RP, received pronunciation, and it's different from the American English. The important thing is to be intelligible and to pronounce words correctly, not to have the accent of a people. If you're going for accent, let me tell you something. Story. Years ago, that was when this first started all this the FM radios. Guys, I know we are left that too low. I'm coming back. Accent and pronunciation are different. Yes, now pronunciation is what's important, not accent. If you focus on pronunciation, you'll be good, right? Pronunciation, intelligibility, that's it. Accent is okay. Let me tell you the story. So when they said all these FM radio stations, the person just speaking American accent. Vocabulary, grammar zero, diction nothing, but accent on point. So they could speak. If you notice around that 90s, early 2000, some of the stations that started at the time, right, they'll be speaking American accent, but the grammar sometimes is off. The real job is pronounce. But no, they were focused on accent. And what I'm saying is that Bolaige was a fantastic speaker, and That's how people should speak, to be honest, right? Yes, Cicero officer, okay. Fantastic, man. Let's be like those people. None of them was perfect. Let's just learn the best from them. And please don't destroy our land because you want to be liberal. It doesn't make sense. Meanwhile, let me read something to you guys before we leave. There was something that came up over the weekend, and I responded to one of those things. And I think I should just say it here, even though I would have loved to be on camera when I read it. The reason I say I want to be on camera, I like to be on camera, is because when we read it on camera, then we can cut it out and put it out. So that's the reason for always saying I love to be on camera. It's not because of any other thing. But later I say Nicole because people are, there's a way audiovisual, gets the message across. So this person, they've been talking about Lagos again. So one person said, by the way, believe it or not, this person is Olawale. Yomi says accent is not part of English, but Bolage was good in the use of English lexicons. If you study classics, you'll be, well, I don't know about now, but I think studying classics could actually help you speak good English, because in studying classics, you're going to study Latin, and a lot of English words are from Latin. And I think also helps if you eventually choose, like Bolage, to become a lawyer. So the maxims, the sayings, all those, the Latin words in common law, you'll be exposed to those things. And then you'll be able to properly. But if you look at that generation, there are two people I remember that studied classics in that generation, Chibolage and Gamaliel Onosode. Those people, I don't know. Sorry guys, when I was going, I should like to listen to them. All right, I was going to read you something. Yeah. So Yoruba person went on Twitter, Yoruba, and you'll understand why I'm mentioning that he's Yoruba. He says here, you go to another country, you weren't even born or raised there, but you integrate. In the space of a decade or slightly more, your family and unborn children are given their passport, their rights, and their recognition. But if you're born and bred in Lagos, a city in a country that you're a citizen of, and in a city you've been completely integrated, you can't claim to be Lagosian. Who did this to us? So that's a Yoruba person who is trying to form, like he knows what he's saying. It knows. So this was my response. I said, the one word you used but clearly didn't understand is integrate. If you abhor assimilation and integration, yet choose instead to curse the land, denigrate its people, talk down on its culture, and work against its well-being, you will not be accepted. Common sense teaches this. Many of you, in your rush to prove that you are detribalized, another word for self-destruction, do not understand what you are so quick to speak on. Left to you, our worldview could even be replaced by that of the Neanderthal, as long as you can still claim to be liberal. Learn. All right, so the point is, there are many of us. We need to reduce that number through conversion. Many of us who want to appear sophisticated or educated or whatever, who wouldn't mind to lose their place in this world? The stupidity in this nonsense they are doing is that not only is it just on, it's preparing your food for the next week or so for himself. And I think we should be aware. We're very compassionate people, but we should not be naive. We shouldn't be naive. Dr. Badru says Dixon asks why he couldn't be called Lagosian. That's why being born in Lagos.
I'll tell you why the question is stupid.
His question is stupid. And I responded to him as well, Sha.
Okay,
And I'll tell you why the question is stupid.
up until recently,
If, all of us know, everybody, okay, let me ask you a question. Up until recently, when you hear the word Lagosian, what comes to your mind? Resident. Resident. And everybody just said, Lagosian. Like he was just like a resident of Lagos. And it was okay. There's no big deal about it. Until one group began to redefine the word Lagosian. So there's a book I was reading the other day where they were talking about the fact that there are Omo-Eko and Lagosians. Lagosians will be Diare-Eko. So you're not really, you're not indigenous, but you're resident. And a lot of people, some actually became Omoeko, even though they were Arieko, especially if they were there in the around the 1800s, before some of those things changed. But if a person then comes and says, "Oh, being Lagosian means I can have this, that means that you are changing the definition of Lagosian. If it was just about being resident, why would you ask that? Oh, I've lived there. Why can I not be? Who says you're not Lagosian? In other words, what you're saying is not about residence. You're saying something else, but you're using the same word that we have been using in order to push an agenda. And I saw a lot of Yoruba so-called Guinea just taking it on like because to them they are thinking resident. To the person is thinking more along the lines of indigenous. If you live in Lagos and you need somebody to tell you a Lagosian, you are not a Lagosian. Because we didn't need to have anybody tell us that. If you, regardless of where you're from in Nigeria, you live in Lagos, you're a Lagosian. But they are changing it because they're trying to push a narrative, and we know exactly what they're doing. So what I did, I wrote something. I said there are three groups of people. There's Omoeko, there's Areko, and there's Eroeko. Omoeko lawon indigenous, Areko lawon resident abayi Olubatan, right? Those they have maybe ancestral connections with. Then there's Eroeko. Eroeko are sojourners. Anybody who says, "Why can't you call me a Lagosian?" is Eroeko, because it's like going to your. Imagine me going to Lagos Island and asking them, why can I not be called a Lagosian? I'm already telling them I'm not part of them. Because it's not something they tell you. You just know who you are. You just know it. And they also come back. That's how we are. And by the way, like I always say, we don't say this because of Lagos, we say because of Yoruba land. I saw something about the Ibadan last weekend too. So speak up for your Yoruba land. If people say that you are being tribalistic, that is a problem. And the crazy himself said things in Anambra State. It's the one that will come to Lagos and tell us exactly how we should identify ourselves. Like, make it make sense. All right. We'll continue tomorrow. Akadol says, Achebe, the fiction writer. It as well. We're going to continue tomorrow with this conversation on, what's it called now? Aburi. Aburi will be tomorrow. Okay? And then we'll see what goes on. We'll see what happens by Wednesday. We're going to be having our sessions every day, but the live camera can might be maybe twice a week, because we spend a lot of time doing. I think there are so many things that we need to speak on, but I don't like. So let me quickly say something. You know how you read some things, we want to research, right? And you need time. So it's important to have a little time to do other things. So please try and understand. Ademola Omoba on TikTok says, Nigerians would have forgiven the Igbos long time ago, but they didn't help matters at all. I think Nigerians actually forgave Igbos. Though. It's not even like I think. I know that Nigerians forgave Igbo. All Nigerians forgave Igbos.
Especially people in the old Eastern region.
All Nigerians, especially people in the old Eastern region. If any group should hold grudges with the Igbos, it's those people. There's a book I'll probably recommend. Let me look for that title. One second, I want to recommend a book to you guys. Worship is okay. New York, my village. Uwemakpan. Uwemakpan. I've never read that book here, but one of these days I will read it. I in Akwa Ibom, so I have a soft spot for Akwa Ibom State people, Ibibio, Efik, Oron, Anang, but particularly Ibibio. So I have a soft spot for them. they suffered during that war. You don't see it in the way they react, in the way they relate with the Igbos. You don't see it because they forgive. And I think that forgiving people without, especially with the circumstances surrounding the war, forgiving the Igbos without, what was the word now? Without having them acknowledge what they did wrong was a huge mistake. I'm not saying the people are bad or anything. I'm just saying that you are essentially creating a culture of entitlement, which is what we're not going through now. Ademola says the Equity people in Rivers State hate the Igbos with passion. They haven't forgiven them. So, no, let me explain something. You have to understand, because you also have to understand where the Equity people are coming from. It's not like the Equity people did not forgive them. It is that they did not stop doing what they did to Equity people. Give me deep. Let me tell you something. Everybody, if Equity people did not forgive Igbos, you think there will be Igbos like they are in the Southeast? Everybody forgave them.
You think they were not did you see the videos after the war?
Everybody forgave them.
Rivers people said Igbos must not come back.
You think if they were not did you see the videos after the war? Rivers people said Igbos must not come back. And listen, the fact that Igbos could go back to Rivers State was not because of military or government. You know, even if government allows you to go to a place, the indigenous people can make that place hell for you. They're forgiving them. The real issue is not forgiveness. The real issue is that after I've forgiven you, are you changing? The pattern has not stopped. That's the problem. Equal people are not bad people, and they're not, it's not like they're holding grudges. They just don't want to have a repeat of what happened in the past. And they notice that the person that they're dealing with is not changing. But I don't think, no, they've forgiven them. Well, to the best of my knowledge, I've seen, let me give an example. This is how you, one of the ways you know they are forgiving them is that read their books. Read books by, at least I have books by people from Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Ogoni, Ikwere, Ibibio. I'm trying to remember. Kalabari. Yeah. Read their books. The way they speak, they don't have any hurt. They have grace. Like, you know, I don't know how to explain, but I hope you get what I'm saying. They didn't write with the kind of anger you would expect. They were not even angry. The person who was a bit angry wasn't even angry if you think about it. They burned down his house and he spoke to Ojukwu and he told him about what happened. He was a bit more firm because he was in government. That was Nebugram Douglas. And he wrote that book in the midst of the war in 1968. And even he did not blame the Igbos in terms of being harsh on them. If they didn't forgive them, they would not be living in those places. So the real issue is that they were never really told that, listen, you messed up here, say sorry. But so if you raise a child that does something wrong and you're still pampering the child and say, okay, let's allow sleeping dogs lie, let's just have peace. You are raising a brat. That child will never stop being stupid. Be doing nonsense in the house. You will raise a brat because there is no accountability. Which is what will make that same person now come to you and tell you that they need you to give them reparations. Imagine the audacity. You kill people in somebody's land, you're not going to make the people to pay you reparations. So I believe that Nigeria forgave Igbos. I believe that every group forgave them, but I think that they didn't learn from what happened. And the saddest part, right? The saddest part, and the reason I'm always saying I wish they heal is that they are repeating every single thing their parents did. Including unitary decree, including taunting people, including acting like they're superior, including being the victim. Every single thing, they're still doing it. And it's painful. It's painful because you are praying that God, you know, it's an academic exercise studying, right? But I think it also gives you this spiritual illumination, so to speak. It's as if you have this predictive ability, like, so you're like, God, may this thing not happen again. So you are feeling for the person, even though they are not, they will curse you out, they will insult you and say, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. We're like, that's my own concern for the Igbos because they are repeating everything, and it's or it's concerning?
You're not listening.
All right. Ademola says he has Equatorial friends and they have nothing good to say about the Southeast. You're not listening, Ademola. It is not that the people. Please stop spamming now. You have typed it before. I've seen it before now. So Ademola, you're not getting it. You cannot say that Equatorial people are angry with them because Equatorial have not forgiven them. Equally, people forgive. That's the reason they go back into River State. That's the first thing I want you. That's the reason they go back into Port Harcourt. That's the first thing you should acknowledge. You have to acknowledge the fact that they allow them back in. The real issue is that what caused Equal people to say, "Don't ever come back again." That thing of "we are better than you, we are greater than all of you are lower than us." You are Igbo. All that thing, that "you are Igbo" thing, it started a long time ago. Biafra, Lechi Amadi had to be making it clear that he belonged to a different group and that his group was not Igbo. They've been saying that on, trying to force their identity for a long time. So after bringing you back, you are still doing it again. They'll get angry. But it's not like they've not forgot. They forgave. If imagine, for instance, let's say you did something wrong, I forgive you. What's the next sensible thing to do? To do better now. But no, it's only God that can take it. Well, human beings, we have to be like God, Sha. But try to understand. The person also feel like you are taking it for granted. How can you be doing the same thing over and over again, and you are telling the person that, are we not all one Nigeria? God have mercy on all of us. So, for me personally, I respect the Ikwe people for even. Maybe one day we'll talk about what those people went through. Especially why, have you ever asked that question, why the abandoned property thing was so huge? I've talked about it here before, by the way, but I didn't do a session on it. Abandoned property. If you are an equal person, for instance, if you hear abandoned property, you're also going to feel bad. Like, we shouldn't have done that bad, that thing to them. But if you know what happened before the war, you'll understand the reason for abandoned property. Even though I don't think it was right, though, but at least I understand why they did it. Every part of Nigeria, every ethnicity in Nigeria, and may God bless our nation. And we would never have 1966 kind of year again. There were death, blood flowing. May God protect you and your family this year. This is the second month of the year, so we finished the first month already. We have, it's already the second day of the month, 2/2/2026. May God bless you this month. May you experience love beyond your wildest dreams. And may God make you a channel of blessing to other people, right? And may good things come your way this month, in Jesus' name. All right, before we go, we're going to listen to our anthems, the Nigerian anthem and Yoruba anthem. And we'll call it a day, to be here again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Ife time, West African time. Here's the Nigerian anthem.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle ìgbàgbọ́ mi pé láti bẹ̀rù làbọ̀ mọ́. Ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́ ká jọlá. Ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira ni ẹ jẹ́ ká máa lépa. Tẹ̀síwájú fọ̀pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó dára. Ọmọ Ogundipe bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ̀.
Àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀, ìmọ́lẹ̀ wo ni wọ́kùn lágbára Ọlọ́run. Yorùbá ò ní bàjẹ́, Nigeria náà ò ní bàjẹ́. May God bless you in His infinite mercies. May He cause you to experience greatness, especially in the month of February and throughout the year 2026. Have a lovely evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Dual. Is it Mr. Miss? I think it's Miss Oduwale Burunke. Thank you so much. And Ademola, thank you as well. We'll be here tomorrow at 4 p.m. if your time West African time. I look forward to seeing you then. Have a lovely evening.